Chapter 126. Not long after, old Zhang, the contractor of the renovation team, rushed over. He didn't have time to change into his work clothes. He looked much more refreshed than usual. He was sweating profusely and panting. "Miss Sheng, didn't you say you wouldn't work today?" Sheng Anren glanced at him, took out a stack of banknotes from her wallet, and handed it to him. "Yes, I'm not working. I need your help." Seeing the banknotes, old Zhang's eyes suddenly lit up, but he didn't dare to take them casually. "What's the matter? Miss Sheng, just say it." "Bring me the ladder over there." Following Sheng Anren's gaze, old Zhang saw the stainless steel ladder lowered into the pool pit and was slightly stunned. "You are. I have something that I left in the room on the second floor. I accidentally locked the door and couldn't find the key, so please help me take a look." Sheng Anren's voice was somewhat meaningful. Old Zhang frowned and looked at the ladder, then at the window on the second floor. He remembered what Assistant Qiao had told him before. "Miss Sheng, Mr. Qiao told us not to move that room. I didn't ask you to move. Just help me see if there's anything inside from the window." This. Seeing old Zhang's hesitant look, Sheng Anren immediately showed an impatient look. She took out a stack of nearly 10,000 banknotes from her wallet and stuffed them into old Zhang's arms. "Okay, you do it. You're decorating for me, not for Assistant Qiao. Do you understand? It would be difficult to hand over the money that was in his hands." Old Zhang made up his mind and put the money into his chest pocket. He nodded like he was pounding garlic. "Okay, Miss Sheng, please make way. I'll move the ladder for you now." Old Zhang climbed the ladder to the window on the second floor and pulled the window according to Sheng Anren's instructions. He turned around and said helplessly with a bitter face, "Miss Sheng, this window is locked. There are curtains inside. I can't see anything." Sheng Anren stood under the ladder and stared at old Zhang with her hands on her hips. "You won't smash it." Old Zhang's face was flustered. "Oh, Miss Sheng, I don't dare." Sheng Anren frowned. "What dare? You're so cowardly. Wait for me. I'll find you a brick." After saying this, she didn't care about old Zhang's objection. She casually picked up a red brick beside the pool, weighed it twice, and lifted it to the side of the ladder. "Come down and take it." "That won't do, Miss Sheng. I can't break the glass. What I put inside is more valuable than this glass. Hurry up and come down. Can you find a locksmith? Are you going to smash it or not?" Sheng Anren frowned. "If you don't smash it, I'll smash it." As she spoke, she raised the brick and threw it at the window. A brick weighing 2 to 3 caddies was thrown out by her hand. It didn't even reach her height before it fell to the ground. Old Zhang, who was high up, was frightened by Sheng Anren's momentum and exclaimed. His hands left the ladder and hugged his arms reflexively. At this time, his feet slipped and he slid down the ladder. The stainless steel ladder was shaking on the grass. Finally, it collapsed with a bang in the midst of Sheng Anren's frightened exclamation with her eyes wide open. Sheng Anren's scream sounded in the courtyard. "Oh, Miss Sheng. Oh my God. It's bleeding. What should I do?" You sit down first. I will call Mr. Qiao." In the office of the president of the pleasure group, Su Mang, the editor-in-chief of Fengshang, came with 2 sets of dresses for Ling Han to try on. "Sister Su Mang, I haven't seen you for a long time. You are so busy, but you still bother to come here in person." Yi Huanyan's eyes passed over Su Mang's shoulder and fell on Ji Xiaoya, who was carrying 2 suits behind her. Ji Xiaoya exchanged a look with her. They had a tacit understanding. Su Mang smiled slightly. The silver-sequined hip-hugging skirt glittered under the office light. She wore the most popular lace suspenders on the outside of the white shirt. She looked just like the editor-in-chief of a fashion magazine. "Secretary Yi is still as beautiful as before. I made an appointment with President Ling before. We have something to talk about. By the way, I will bring the clothes he will wear in the annual meeting to try on. The size can be changed in advance." "Okay." President Ling is inside. Yi Huanyan opened the door and welcomed Su Mang in. "Sister Su Mang, why do you come in person?" Ling Han stood up and showed a rare smile. I haven't seen you for a long time. You made an appointment to renew the contract with us before, but the contract hasn't been signed yet. I come here to renew the contract on purpose. Su Mang blinked. She was over 40 years old, but she still had a clear and cunning innocence when she smiled. According to Su Mang's instructions, Ji Xiaoya put the two suits on the sofa and then left the office with Yi Huanyan, leaving Su Mang to talk with Ling Han. As soon as they left the office, Ji Xiaoya seemed to be relaxed all over. She swung her two sore arms and gave Yi Huanyan a big bear hug. My Yen Yen, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Okay. This is the corridor. The assistant group is watching. Come to my office and sit down. Yi Huanyan broke away from her claws and pinched her face. As soon as they returned to the secretary's office, Xiaodong served Ji Xiaoya tea and water very sensibly. He called her Sister Xiaoyu and behaved like a humble and honest junior. Looking at Ji Xiaoya's enjoyment, Yi Huanyan leaned against her desk with a cup of water. Look at you. Do you regard your old company as a foot spa shop? How is the new company? Are you satisfied? Not bad. Except that I am a little tired and have to be ordered around by the she-devil all day long. Everything else is quite good. It was obvious that the she-devil was Su Mang. She was already in her 40s, but she was still standing tall in the fashion industry. In addition to her unique and innovative vision and accurate grasp of the market, she also had extraordinary communication skills and business acumen. She had single-handedly cultivated the 5 famous domestic models on the international stage, and there were countless well-known models under Fengshan. Those awesome people always had some eccentricities. Everyone in the circle knew that Su Mang was a person who treated her subordinates extremely strictly. She was so strict that she was abnormal. You don't know that the clothes she gave me were the smallest size. On the first day I entered the company, she told me that I couldn't squeeze myself into that dress within a week, so she asked me to pack up my things and get out. Yi Huanyan sighed. Looking at Ji Xiaoya's obviously thin cheeks, he clicked his tongue in wonder. No wonder I see that your figure has improved a lot recently. I was forced to, in the president's office. Ling Han had just changed into a suit and stood in front of the mirror. Su Mang was helping him to tidy up his bow tie personally. She seemed to be very satisfied with this work. After Ling Han put on the suit, she touched her chin and nodded with appreciation. Your figure is inherited from your father. It is the frame of your clothes. I have asked someone to send out the invitation to the charity banquet next week. You have to come to support me. Chapter 127. You will dance the opening dance. Su Mang smiled at her in the mirror. Sister, shouldn't you ask for my opinion? Hey, isn't it good to invite you to eat and drink for free? Remember to bring a dance partner. Su Mang patted her on the shoulder. This one seems to be not as good as the one just now. Change your clothes. I will wait for you outside. After saying this, the door of the bathroom was closed. He could vaguely see Su Mang's figure standing outside, nagging him to change his clothes. Looking at his swift and decisive manner, he was truly worthy of being the person that Ling Dongming had groomed back then. Ling Han raised a helpless smile at the corner of his mouth. He changed his clothes and asked, "Will you think of the assistant I recommended to you before? If she is not suitable, you can give her back to me." Across the door, Su Mang looked down at her newly done nails and said lightly, "Xiaoyu, she is not bad. She is smart and diligent, but her fashion taste is not good. But didn't you say that you would give Huanyan to me? Why did you change the person in the end? Can't you give her up at the last moment?" When he asked this, there was no sound inside the door for a long time. Su Mang seemed to have expected that he would have such a reaction. She stretched out her fingers, painted with black nail polish, and slightly bent them. Her knuckles gently knocked on the glass door. "Hey, every time I mention Yi Huanyan, you have this attitude. What happened to you in the last half year? Do you have something in your mind?" Rip. The frosted door was opened. A strong chest suddenly appeared in front of Su Mang. Damn. I was scared to death. She patted her chest, and her attention was immediately attracted by the suit. This wine-red one is more suitable. There are too many black suits in your closet. You'd better wear something brighter for this kind of dinner party. Anyway, you are good-looking, so you can wear anything. Ling Han lowered his head and pulled the white shirt in the cuff of the suit. Well, this one is fine. Wait a minute. There seems to be something wrong. Su Mang took 2 steps back. She touched her chin and frowned. Wait a minute. She walked out of the office as she spoke. Not long after, she pulled Yi Huanyan over from the secretary's office. She pointed at Ling Han, looked up at Yi Huanyan, and asked, "What do you think of this outfit? Is there anything you want to change?" Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. "Sister Su Mang, are you asking me?" "Yes, I'm asking you." Su Mang touched his chin and nodded. He looked serious. Yi Huanyan followed her gaze and looked at Ling Han. He was dressed in a wine-red suit, which made him look tall and slender. He wore a pair of black leather shoes under his cropped pants, which exposed his ankles and made his legs look even more slender. However, his upper body seemed a little off. "Why don't you change your white shirt into a black half-turtleneck sweater?" Yi Huanyan suggested hesitantly. Su Mang stared at Ling Han and thought for a while. Then he suddenly clapped his hands. "Right, it's this shirt. It's so strange to match a white shirt." "Ling Han, what do you think?" Seeing Su Mang's meaningful eyes, Ling Han's face tightened. He coughed for no reason and said, "Whatever." Su Mang blinked at Yi Huanyan and immediately said, "Well, since Secretary Yi said so, that's it. I'll go back and find you a black sweater. Then I'll ask Xiaoyu to send it to you." Yi Huanyan waved his hand. No. Well, I'll go to your office to get it after work. I can take the sweater home and wash it first. He doesn't wear clothes that haven't been washed." Before she could finish speaking, she seemed to have realized something and abruptly stopped speaking. Her expression stiffened as she looked at Ling Han, wishing she could bite her own tongue. "You don't have to work overtime today. After work, you go to Sister Su Mang's company with me to get the clothes." A cold voice sounded in the office, making Yi Huanyan show a trace of surprise on his face. The obvious concern in Ling Han's words made Su Mang show an ambiguous expression on his face. Yi Huanyan froze on the spot for a few seconds and pursed his lips. "That's it. After work, I'll pack up in advance and wait for President Ling's sister Su Mang. You can talk with President Ling slowly. I'll go to work first." In Su Mang's eyes, he looked like he was fleeing in panic. She smiled slightly. After Yi Huanyan left, Su Mang glanced at Ling Han. "You are quite lucky to meet Yi Huanyan, a silly girl who only knows how to think about others." Such an evaluation could be regarded as a high evaluation from the sharp and sharp-tongued fashion demoness Su Mang. Ling Han raised his eyebrows with a look of disagreement. He took off his wine-red suit jacket, unbuttoned 2 buttons of his shirt, exhaled slowly, and then walked in the direction of the office desk. He said lightly, "Is she silly? Isn't she?" Su Mang turned his head and asked, "She takes good care of your life in every possible way. She is also a professional woman, but she still indulges you in food, clothing, housing, and transportation. Even a full-time nanny doesn't do that. Are you satisfied? Besides, is it convenient for you to go home from work to my place? The girl you gave me probably said a lot of bad things about me behind my back in front of her." Huanyan is reluctant to let her best friend run around again. She is so kind. Speaking of Ji Xiaoye, Su Mang sighed. He was a little disappointed. Ling Han's eyes fell on the slightly shaking office door, and there was a trace of inexplicable warmth in his heart. Looking back, he saw Su Mang's meaningful eyes. He coughed twice and deliberately ignored the key points in Su Mang's words when he spoke. "Why? You are very strict to Ji Xiaoye. She has suffered a lot, right?" "Uh-huh." Su Mang sat down on the sofa with his arms crossed. "It's okay. In order to help her lose weight, I cut off her lunch at noon and let her squat in the studio to watch the models shooting." Ling Han nodded, showing a non-committal look. He didn't care about the development of Ji Xiaoye in the new company. After all, she was working under Su Mang. Even a good-for-nothing could be trained by Su Mang to become an elite member of Fengshan magazine. If she couldn't bear it and went back to pleasure, he didn't care about keeping such an idle person in the company. Picking up the teacup on the desk and taking a sip, Ling Han suddenly saw the trash can out of the corner of his eyes. When he saw the takeaway box of the Hong Kong-style tea restaurant, there seemed to be a trace of information in his mind. Gradually, a beautiful and sweet face beside the coffee table at noon came to his mind. She explained to him in a hurry, "I had lunch with Xiaoyu." Thinking of this, his eyes deepened a little, and his voice suddenly became a little dull. "Sister Su Mang, at noon today, did you also let Ji Xiaoya go to the studio to watch the models?" A careless voice came from the sofa. Su Mang didn't find the change of Ling Han's mood. "Of course. Not even for a day. Don't you find that this girl's figure is much better than when you gave her to me?" Ling Han frowned gradually. The blue veins on the back of the hand holding the teacup were a little obvious. Liars were truly detestable. Chapter 128. 5 minutes before leaving work, Yi Huanyan began to pack her things. Xiao Dong looked up from the computer desk and looked at her in surprise. "Sister Yi, why are you leaving so early today?" "Yes." Yi Huanyan looked back at her and smiled. "You look so happy. Are you on a date?" Hearing this, Yi Huanyan was slightly taken aback and did not reply. The door of the president's office opposite was wide open. Ling Han was wearing a black suit and a gray cashmere coat in his hand. He glanced at the secretary's office. "President Ling." Xiao Dong stood up immediately and looked at Ling Han nervously. Yi Huanyan threw the hand cream into her bag in a hurry. "Give me 2 minutes, Secretary Yi. Don't you need to work overtime today?" Ling Han's tone was indifferent. Yi Huanyan's face stiffened and asked hesitantly, "Didn't I go with you to Fengshan to get your clothes?" "Oh? Is there such a thing? I had too much work in the afternoon and forgot." He lowered his head and adjusted the cuffs of his suit with a cold face. "But I have something to do, so you can take a taxi yourself. You can ask the finance department for reimbursement." Looking at his leaving figure, Yi Huanyan pursed her lips and could not help but grip the strap of her handbag tightly. Xiao Dong asked in a low voice beside her, "I heard from Xiao Zhang from the assistant group that Sheng Anren was injured and hospitalized. President Ling got off work so early today. Are you going to the hospital?" "Ah." Yi Huanyan did not react and looked at Xiao Dong in a daze. "You said Sheng Anren was injured?" "I heard that because of the renovation. She was hit in the leg by a heavy object." "Sister Yi, don't you know?" Xiao Dong blinked. The dullness in Yi Huanyan's eyes deepened, and her chest tightened. Lanjiang City, Lanjiang University Affiliated Hospital. Sheng Anren was lying on the bed, with one leg in a cast hanging on the frame. Her face was pale, and she gasped when she moved slightly. What happened? Ling Han had just arrived. As soon as he entered the room, he sat on the sofa. His concerned expression was not obvious. Sheng Anren guiltily glanced at Xiao Mu and said sheepishly, "It's nothing major. It's just that I was bored today, so I strolled around the courtyard and ended up getting smashed by a ladder." "Ladder?" Ling Han glanced at Xiao Mu. "It's a ladder." Xiao Mu creased her brows. The workers in charge of digging the pool didn't put away the tools properly yesterday. The ladder was placed against the wall. Miss Sheng didn't notice it when she walked into the backyard and was hit in the leg by the fallen ladder. "Did the doctor say anything?" "The doctor said that the cast will heal faster, but I'm afraid the cast can't be removed before the new year. We'll have to wait until after the new year." Xiao Mu sighed. When she caught a glimpse of her leg in a cast from the corner of her eye, her eyes trembled. A hint of impatience flashed in Ling Han's eyes. "Just leave the decoration work to the decoration team. Why are you joining in the fun?" Sheng Anren was slightly stunned and lowered his head, looking very wronged. "I'm just afraid that the decoration team will break the things at home. Han, I didn't do it on purpose." Sheng Anren felt more and more indignant at the thought of the charity banquet hosted by Fengshan next Saturday. He had carefully prepared for so long just to attend the banquet with Ling Han to solidify his status. Now that his leg was injured like this, how could he still have the face to attend? Chiao Mu helped to explain. Ling Han seemed to be in a bad mood today. He sat absent-mindedly for a while before getting up and leaving the ward. Looking at Ling Han's back, Chiao Mu turned around and glanced at Shang Anren. It's good that he's gone. Otherwise, you'll expose yourself if you say too much. Shang Anren's heart tightened. He avoided Chiao Mu's gaze and stammered, What expose? What expose can I have? Chiao Mu sat on the chair beside the bed and picked up an apple to peel. She sneered, The ladder that was placed in the pool is leaning against the wall for no reason, and it's facing the locked window on the second floor. Isn't it too much of a coincidence? Also, I fired that worker. Starting tomorrow, a new renovation team leader will take over. You don't have to worry about exposing yourself in the future. Shang Anren looked embarrassed. He pursed his lips and looked at Chiao Mu. Since you're willing to help me cover it up, why can't you just tell me the truth? What's in that room? Chiao Mu's left index finger and thumb held the two ends of the apple. The fruit knife in her hand made a beautiful arc, and a perfect peeled apple soon appeared in front of Shang Anren. Most of the time, don't be curious about what others don't want to show you. This kind of thing will either hurt the owner of the thing or hurt you. You know what you want. Don't you understand this principle? I'm just curious. The cut apple pieces fell from the white porcelain plate one by one. Chiao Mu's voice was sincere and gentle. Everyone has their own white moonlight in their heart, which others can't enter. You think that the more you know, the more you can understand this person and enter this person's heart. In fact, it's not true. Just like the fired renovation team leader. He knew too much but didn't gain our trust. Instead, he was directly expelled. Shang Anren's face turned cold. You're saying that if I knew what was in that room, Ling Han would let me leave? That was impossible. Chiao Mu put the cut apple on the table in front of Shang Anren and handed her a fork. His face was still calm. Don't think too much. After all, you didn't do anything. Eat some apple. Looking at Chiao Mu's calm face, Shang Anren was frightened by his words just now. She seriously thought about the possibilities that Chiao Mu said and seriously estimated her weight in Ling Han's heart. Was the so-called white moonlight really sacred and inviolable for him? What was in that room? Chiao Mu stuffed the fork into her hand and looked at her with a softer look. In the villa of Jinjiang Park, when Yi Huanyan went to Fengshan to get clothes, she was dragged by Su Mang to have a vegetarian dinner. When she got home, it was already dark, and there was a faint light in the villa. When she opened the door, only a floor lamp beside the sofa was lit in the living room. Ling Han was sitting on the sofa with his back to the porch. Yi Huanyan looked over his shoulder and saw that he was holding a financial newspaper in his hand. Hearing the noise, Ling came out of her bedroom. Miss Yi, you're back. Have you had dinner? Yes, Yi Huanyan talked to her while secretly looking in the direction of Ling Han. Do you want to have some supper? Ling asked. No need. Seeing that Yi Huanyan was so absent-minded, Ling followed her gaze and looked in the direction of the sofa. She understood something and lowered her voice. Well, Miss Yi, young master came back early today, but he didn't seem to be in a good mood. He didn't speak and didn't eat dinner. Do you want to persuade him? Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. When she handed the coat to Ling, she looked up and saw that the clock on the wall was pointing to 10:30. He hadn't eaten dinner yet at this time. Chapter 129. You go in first. Yi Huanyan glanced at Ling. She glanced at the warm dinner on the table, then turned around and looked in the direction of the sofa. You haven't had dinner yet? The person on the sofa closed the magazine and turned around slowly. Where did you go? Yi Huanyan was stunned. After work, I went to Fengshan to get some clothes. You got the clothes from 5 p.m. to 10:30 p.m.? Ling Han walked around the sofa towards her, his eyes cold. Yi Huanyan, do you feel that lying is something that gives you a sense of accomplishment? Yi Huanyan's face froze, and she mumbled, What do you mean? A piercing pain came from her wrist, making her face contort painfully. From today onwards, you have to come here within an hour after work. Why? I only had dinner with Sister Su Mang today. Yi Huanyan was in so much pain that the corners of her eyes teared up. She cried and shouted, "Let go of me, I really didn't go anywhere else." What about lunch? Ling Han clenched his fingers and looked into her eyes aggressively, pausing after every word. "Did you have lunch with Ji Xiaoye?" Yi Huanyan's face turned pale, and her heart sank. "Since you want to stay by my side and be my woman, then stay away from other men. You should know that I don't want a second-hand good." After saying this, he flung her wrist away in disgust. The force was so strong that she was flung to the side. Her waist hit the back of the sofa, and she felt pain. She held onto the sofa and slowly squatted down. When she was young, everyone said that a liar should swallow 1,000 needles. Children always took such a vicious oath seriously. When she grew up, she realized that lying had become the norm in life. She used one lie to cover up another lie, and in the end, she felt like she had swallowed 1,000 needles. It was so painful. Garden Hotel apartment in Lanjiang City. Sun Yanhua stood by the bed, frowning as he made a phone call, holding a resignation letter in his hand. "Brotherly, what do you mean by giving me a resignation letter today?" Li Dali's voice came from the other end of the phone. "Brother Hua, don't worry. I just think that pleasure is more suitable for your development. My team can no longer take care of you. It will only be a restriction for you in the future." "What do you mean? What do you mean by you're restricting my development? Back then, you were the one who discovered me overseas and accompanied me for so many years. Step by step, you watched me walk to where I am today. How can you leave just like that?" "Calm down." A sigh came from the other end of the phone. "You should sign the contract. When I first returned to China, I also told you that many companies in China don't allow artists to bring their own agents to sign contracts. The few companies I've contacted have the same problem. Isn't there Dingsheng? Didn't Dingsheng promise you that you won't have to change managers? But overall, there's no better company than pleasure. You should seize this opportunity. Brotherly, I think it doesn't matter which company we go to when we're together. I'm fine with anything. I can't." The other end of the phone was silent for a few seconds, as if he had made up his mind. "Listen carefully. You have your dream of being a star, and I also have my dream of being a manager. I've made too many mistakes in my work with you during this period. This also made me realize that I'm not suitable to manage you at the moment. So go to pleasure. I'll spend time tidying myself up, not only for you, but also for myself. By the way, I really can't manage you now. I'm going back to America in 2 days, so don't think about it." "Hello?" Sun Yanhua looked at the phone that had been hung up. His heart felt suffocated and uncomfortable. On the table was all the information about pleasure. It was all arranged and left behind by Li Dali before he left. He suggested that he sign the contract with pleasure and also made some changes to the conditions proposed by pleasure. He hoped that he could raise these conditions when the time came. He probably did all this because he was afraid that the departure would be too sad. He didn't even give him a chance to say goodbye properly. 3 days later, Pleasure Film and Television officially signed the contract with the artist, Sun Yanhua. This hot piece of meat that had been popular as soon as he returned to China finally fell into the hands of the entertainment group's big boss, Pleasure. Other companies could say that they were sincerely convinced, and there wasn't too much controversy. The president's office. Qiao Mu handed the drafted contract to Ling Han for a look. Ling Han casually flipped through it, as if he didn't care about the terms. He only asked, "Have you negotiated with the manager?" "It's done. The manager is Li Dong, a gold medal manager in Department 1. The company has always been assured that the artist will be managed by him, whether it's his public relations ability or he's so outstanding that he doesn't need a gold medal manager. Find a newcomer from Department 2 and bring him to see me." Before Qiao Mu could finish speaking, Ling Han interrupted him, and the way he interrupted him made him even more confused. 10 minutes later, the round-headed man was brought to the president's office. The man was less than 1 7 meters tall and couldn't be considered fat, but his head and body were inexplicably round, like a roly-poly toy. He wore a pair of black-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose, and he looked very dull. He didn't look like a manager, but more like an otaku from the technical department. President Ling, this is Remy from Department 2. He has 2 female hosts with him, and he just joined the company a little more than a year ago. Do you know why I arranged for you to be with Sun Yanhua? Ling Han raised his eyelids and looked at him with a somewhat disdainful gaze. It was the first time he saw such a talent in Department 2. Thank you for your appreciation, President Ling. These pompous words made people impatient, and Ling Han frowned. Sun Yanhua just came back from abroad, and it's his first time signing with a domestic company. Since you're taking over his job, keep a close eye on him. Don't let anything happen. Yes, I understand, President Ling. That cough. Ling Han coughed dryly and lowered his head. Report to me directly if anything happens. Report? Remy looked at Xiao Mu in confusion, but did not understand. After a few seconds of sluggishness, he asked woodenly, Don't you need to report to our President Li and the Public Relations Department first? Ling Han's face darkened. Xiao Mu was the first to react and glared at him. I told you to report, so just report. What's with all the nonsense? Remy instantly nodded submissively, like he was pounding garlic. Ling Han looked at the roly-poly man in front of him with a smile that was not a smile. Where did the second management department find such a talent? Xiao Mu stood on the side and asked hesitantly, How about I go find someone else? No need, just him. After saying this, he glanced at his wrist. What time is the contract signing? Xiao Mu glanced at the time. 10:30 in the morning. Sun Yanhua will probably be here soon. Ling Han raised his eyebrows, an inexplicable chill flashing through his eyes. Have someone prepare a conference room. Oh, right, when you sign the contract, have secretary you brew a few cups of coffee and send it in. Xiao Mu was startled at first, but she quickly reacted after thinking about it. Secretary Ye's coffee brewing skills can be considered international standard. It's a skill that normal people in the company can't taste. President Ling, you truly value this Sun Yanhua. This evaluation made Ling Han curl his lips, and a cold glint flashed through his eyes. Going abroad at 17, leaving his family for 10 years to fight alone, and now returning home in glory. I just want to see what kind of character he is. Chapter 130. The Secretary's Office. Yi Huanyan had just received the revised draft of the annual meeting's proposal. The revision this time was barely passable. After skimming through it and confirming that there were no major problems, she prepared to send it to the president's office. Just as she stood up, she saw Ling Han walk out of the office across from her. He was dressed in a black suit, and he did not even look at her as he strode forward. Xiao Mu followed behind him and knocked on the door of the secretary's office when she passed by it. Secretary Yi, President Ling is having a meeting in the conference room on the 9th floor. Please brew 2 cups of coffee and send it over. Xiao Dong hastily said, Let me brew the coffee. Xiao Mu creased her brows. President Ling specified that Secretary Yi needs to brew the coffee. Xiao Dong glanced at Yi Huanyan sheepishly. Yi Huanyan was taken aback for a moment before nodding. She glanced at Xiao Dong. Then I'll have to trouble Xiao Dong to help me go through the proposal again. If there are any simple problems, send it back and let them revise it. Ling Han rarely drank coffee and mostly drank tea. Hence, when she was preparing the coffee in the pantry, she hesitated for a moment. Perhaps she wanted to change things up, but she still brewed 2 cups of coffee and walked toward the conference room. President Ling, Sun Yanhua is here. Xiao Mu stood at the door. Sun Yanhua was dressed in casual attire today and gave off a youthful vibe. He only took off his mask after entering the conference room, and he was slightly surprised when he saw Ling Han. You are President Ling? Ling Han nodded lightly. Mr. Su, I've heard a lot about you. Sun Yanhua was puzzled. Have we met before? The corners of Ling Han's mouth curled up into a meaningful smile. Maybe it's fate. He turned his head to look at Xiao Mu. Chiao Mu understood and placed the contract in her hand in front of Su Nianhua. Mr. Su, this is the contract that has been revised according to your request. You've already seen the electronic version, so you can read it again. If there are no problems, you can sign it. Su Nianhua came back to his senses and nodded. After roughly flipping through the contract, he signed his name with 2 strokes of the pen. At this time, Yi Huanyan walked in from the door with a tray with 2 cups of coffee in her hands. Su Nianhua was sitting with his back facing the door. He was wearing a slightly oversized white down jacket and a baseball cap, so she didn't recognize him. Here's your coffee. She placed the coffee beside Su Nianhua and smiled politely. Then, she retracted her hand and prepared to get another cup. After hearing this clear voice, Su Nianhua suddenly turned his head. Yan Yan? There was an uncontrollable excitement in his eyes. He grabbed Yi Huanyan's hand before it could be retracted. Yi Huanyan's expression suddenly froze. Su Nianhua signed the contract today? No one told her. At this time, there was a chill in Ling Han's eyes. He stared straight at the 2 hands that were holding each other. As if she had a feeling, Yi Huanyan subconsciously raised her head. She was caught off guard by Ling Han's unfriendly gaze. She thought of what he said that night like a movie. She panicked and hurriedly pulled her hand out. She didn't even dare to look at Su Nianhua again. She quickly put down the coffee cup on the tray and said in a low voice, "President Ling, your coffee." Su Nianhua was slightly stunned. He was a little puzzled by her indifferent attitude. His gaze passed over Yi Huanyan's shoulder and fell on Ling Han. He suddenly remembered that day near Yi Huanyan's house, the man who claimed to be her boss and took her away in a car. No wonder he looked familiar. It was him. The coffee today is not fresh, right? Are you going to serve Mr. Su this kind of coffee? Ling Han picked up the coffee and took a sip. There was a danger in his voice that could not be denied. Looking at his face carefully, one could feel an oppressive force. Yi Huanyan's face stiffened. Maybe the coffee sent by logistics this time is not fresh enough. I'll go and change it now. Ling Han glanced at her and said in a cold voice, "Secretary Yi, are you deliberately trying to embarrass me in front of my partners?" Yi Huanyan looked more and more flustered. She opened her mouth, but she didn't know how to explain. Su Nianhua quickly helped her out. "I think this coffee is very good. President Ling, it's just a cup of coffee." Ling Han glanced at the coffee in front of him. "Mr. Su, you think it's very good before you taste it. Are you more knowledgeable about coffee, or are you speaking for Secretary Yi?" Before Su Nianhua could think of an answer, he heard him say coldly, "Consider it as giving Mr. Su face today. I won't pursue your work mistakes. Why don't you hurry up and change the coffee?" Looking at Yi Huanyan's back, a trace of concern appeared in Su Nianhua's eyes. Although he knew that it was indeed impossible for superiors and subordinates to be as close as family in the workplace, it was not uncommon for superiors to lose their temper over a cup of coffee. However, when such a thing happened to the woman he cared about, he still found it difficult to balance in his heart. Such a gaze became very dazzling in Ling Han's eyes. He asked in a neutral tone, "Mr. Su, you seem to know my secretary?" Su Nianhua was slightly taken aback, but he didn't think too much about it. "Yes, we used to know each other, but we haven't been in contact for many years. I heard that you've been abroad for 10 years. It's not easy to recognize a friend from 10 years ago." Ling Han's words were a bit thought-provoking. Su Nianhua's heart was set on working in the same company as Yi Huanyan in the future, so he did not carefully observe the change in Ling Han's expression. When he thought of her forbearing appearance just now, his heart ached a bit. "Director Ling, I have a presumptuous request." He looked at Ling Han. "Yi Huanyan is a very important friend of mine, so I hope you can take care of her more in the future." A cold glint flashed through Ling Han's eyes. "Since she's your friend, it's just a small request." "Of course." Seeing that Ling Han readily agreed, Su Nianhua immediately breathed a sigh of relief. "Then I really have to thank Director Ling. You're welcome." Ling Han's smile was thought-provoking. Xiao Mu frowned as she looked at Sun Yanhua. It was obvious that this gentle and refined man was not boss's match. How exactly did he become famous abroad and reach where he was today? In the pantry, Yi Huanyan had just brewed 2 new cups of coffee. This time, she tasted them first, and after confirming that there was no mistake, she prepared to bring them to the conference room with ease. When she thought of Sun Yanhua's sudden action just now and Ling Han's icy gaze toward her, she felt a lingering fear. Yi Huanyan, a familiar voice, suddenly came from behind her. Her entire body stiffened, and she abruptly turned around. Sun Yanhua stood at the door and gave her a refined smile. Did I scare you just now? I also didn't expect to meet you here. Not only was she scared just now, but she was also scared now. Yi Huanyan reflexively looked behind him, but she did not see Ling Han's figure. Why are you here? Where's Director Ling? Sun Yanhua followed her gaze and looked behind him. He said with a smile, Director Ling is busy and left after signing the contract with me. I said I wanted to look around, so I came here. I guessed that you were here. Ling Han didn't follow? He left her alone with Sun Yanhua. Chapter 131. Yi Huanyan faintly felt that the situation was serious. She put down her coffee and frowned. Lu Shun, it's working hours now. Sun Yanhua nodded and smiled gently. He raised his wrist and showed the time on his watch. 12 o'clock, you're off duty time. I've just asked. Let's go eat together. While Sun Yanhua was talking, Yi Huanyan's gaze went over his shoulder and landed on the corner of the corridor outside the pantry. A figure was swaying slightly on the floor. Her face suddenly froze, and she hurriedly said, I'm working overtime today. After saying this, she almost ran around Sun Yanhua and ran toward the elevator. When she passed by the corner, she glanced at the man standing there from the corner of her eye. It was Remy, the agent that Ling Han assigned to Sun Yanhua in the conference room just now. At this moment, he was looking at her with a strange gaze, as if he wanted to dig out some information from her. She panicked and felt inexplicably guilty. She avoided his gaze and walked straight into the elevator. The atmosphere in the secretary's office was a little solemn. After the elevator door opened, Yi Huanyan saw from afar that A4 papers had fallen to the floor near the corridor of the assistant team's cubicle. A few of the assistants were squatting on the floor to clean up the mess. One of the girl's shoulders kept twitching. When she got closer, she heard the sound of sobbing. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. What's going on? Xiao Dong picked up the documents on the floor and put them aside. Don't mention it, Sister Yi. Just now, President Ling came back from the conference room. Xiao Lan and the others brought this year's audit report for President Ling to sign. In the end, President Ling directly threw the audit report to the floor. Why? Yi Huanyan frowned. He said that it's going through the company's procedures and should be handed over to our secretary to check. But Sister Yi, you're not back yet. Moreover, this audit report is issued by a third party. Even if there's a problem, we can't change it. Xiao Dong muttered a few words and was stopped by a few colleagues beside her. All right, Secretary Xiao Dong, stop complaining. Even Xiao Lan is not as talkative as you. I'm just helping Xiao Lan. Sigh, forget it. I think someone must have made President Ling unhappy again. Xiao Dong turned to look at Yi Huanyan and said, Sister Yi, didn't Chief Ling just go and sign a contract with Sun Yanhua? How is it? Why are you like this when you come back? Yi Huanyan finally regained her senses. Oh, it's nothing. It's pretty good. The signing of the contract went smoothly. Very successful. Xiao Dong scratched his head. Very successful? Why is Manager Ling back with such an expression? Yi Huanyan looked towards the end of the corridor. The tightly shut door of the CEO's office was like a thick wall, making it difficult for people to enter. She stared at the screen for a while and did not hear what Xiao Dong said to her. Sister Yi, huh? She regained her senses and turned to look at Xiao Dong. Xiao Dong saw Dong Xuebing in a daze and hesitated for a while. Brother Xiao Zhang is going to buy food today. Do you want to bring anything else? No, no need. After saying this, Yi Huanyan turned around and walked towards the secretary's office. Xiao Dong followed her. Are you going out to eat today? Xiao Dong smiled meaningfully. He approached Yi Huanyan and nudged her with his elbow. Sister Yi, you're in love, right? No. Yi Huanyan forced a smile. After taking her wallet and phone, she looked in the direction of the CEO's office and frowned deeply. During lunchtime, the CEO's office was very quiet. Qiao Mu looked at the time and could not help but speak. President Ling, it's past 12. Let's eat first. There's a new restaurant in the building opposite. Ling Han did not look up. No need. I haven't finished reading the proposal. You can go and eat. Despite Ling Han's words, Qiao Mu still did not move from her seat. Knock, knock, knock. Yi Huanyan pushed open the door with her slender and fair fingers and nodded slightly at Qiao Mu as a greeting. Then she waved the lunchbox in her hand. I'm going out to buy food and bought one for President Ling. Qiao Mu stood up from the desk. President Ling, I'm going to eat. Qiao Mu tactfully left the office and closed the door, even though it was lunchtime and no one would knock on the door of the CEO's office. Only Yi Huanyan and Ling Han were left in the office. Across the large desk, Ling Han kept his head down and did not seem to have any intention of responding to her. President Ling. He flipped to the last page of the draft proposal on the table. After signing his name, he closed the draft with his slender fingers. Only then did he raise his cold face reluctantly and face Yi Huanyan's direction. It's my break. What are you doing here? I bought food for you. He faintly glanced at it. The transparent bag clearly contained simple meals like sandwiches. Although it was not the same as yesterday, it was exactly the same. His eyes abruptly turned cold. Why didn't you chat with him for a while when old friends met? His words made Yi Huanyan think he was talking about the conference room. We don't have the kind of relationship you think we have. Also, I didn't chat with him much. Of course not. Ling Han's tone darkened, and the atmosphere in the office abruptly turned chilly. You're busy two-timing. You're hanging Sun Yanhua on one hand and you're also busy buying lunch to bring back. Where would you find the time to talk to him? Upon hearing this, Yi Huanyan was stunned for a few seconds before she reacted. Her face darkened when she saw him slandering her without distinguishing between right and wrong. I sincerely came to explain, so I bought lunch. I was afraid you would misunderstand. The man, behind the desk, stared at the simple takeaway bag in her hand and found it more and more irritating. He got up and walked around the desk to stand in front of her and snatched the bag from her hand. Is this what you mean by saying that you were afraid I would misunderstand? So you sincerely came to explain? What's wrong? Yi Huanyan was puzzled. How much of your words can be trusted? Ling Han sneered. It was the same yesterday. Why don't you tell me who you had lunch with yesterday? I speak. Ling Han stared at her with a gloomy expression. Their eyes met, less than 20 centimeters apart. A ripple appeared in her clear eyes, and it was clear that she was trying to avoid his gaze. 3 words slowly came out of her mouth. Sun Yanhua. Ling Han's face was extremely gloomy, and the knuckles of his fingers, which were holding the transparent bag, turned white, as if he would explode and destroy everything around him in the next second. There was a sound of opening the door, accompanied by a few stumbling sounds and the muffled sound of heavy objects knocking on the ground. The woman's tone changed from delicate to forbearing in only 2 seconds. The 2 voices came at a very inappropriate time. Han, I bought it for you. Behind the half-open office door, Sheng Anren carried a beautifully packed lunchbox in one hand with a crutch. The smile on her mouth had not yet disappeared. Her face was stiff. The other hand, which was as white as jade, supported the door frame with encouragement. Her eyes fell on the bag in Ling Han's hand and gradually tightened. Did I come at a bad time? Chapter 132. Yi Huanyan didn't expect that Sheng Enren would come to the company to see Ling Han even if she broke her leg. He admired her a lot. Ling Han's eyes flashed a trace of astonishment, but soon he was irritated by Yi Huanyan's indifference. Sheng Enren limped into the office with a cane and put the lunch box on the table. Her tone was very sour. Han, I just thought there was nothing delicious near the company, and it was not healthy, so I cooked lunch for you by myself. I didn't expect Secretary Yi to be so serious and responsible. Is she serious and responsible? Ling Han's face sank slightly. Bang! A sound was heard. In front of Yi Huanyan, the packed meal was thrown into the trash can. Yi Huanyan looked up at Ling Han incredulously. You. Go out. It's none of your business here. A few sandwiches are your so-called sincerity. Don't you think it's too easy for you to be a secretary? Ling Han's face was calm, and his eyes were full of gloom. Yi Huanyan's face was as pale as paper, but she didn't know how to respond to his words. Sheng Enren sat on the sofa in a dignified manner, just like a hostess. When she looked at her, there was even some pity. Ling Han ignored the trembling in her eyes. He held Sheng Enren's shoulder and sat down behind the coffee table. He let Sheng Enren pick up the food and put it into his mouth pretentiously. His expression and posture were intimate, as if he didn't care about her existence. She came out in a hurry. Han, try the soup I made. Looking at the slightly trembling office door, Ling Han glanced at the porcelain white soup spoon in front of him. The fragrant chicken soup was bright and beautiful. It smelled very good. Did you do it yourself? Ling Han raised the corner of his mouth, and his eyes fell on one of her legs, which was inconvenient to move, with a touch of ridicule at the corner of his mouth. Sheng Enren was slightly stunned and said embarrassedly, I was going to do it myself, but the doctor said that my leg can't be done for the time being. Well, you don't have to say any more. Ling Han interrupted her explanation. It's good enough that you have a heart. This sentence made Sheng Enren slightly stunned. Originally, he thought that if he was found to be lying, he would inevitably be coldly looked at. Unexpectedly, he was extraordinarily tolerant today. For the first time, he heard him say the word intention. However, his expression was somewhat absent-minded. Of course, I'm 100% devoted to you. When my leg recovers, I'll definitely cook for you personally. She took the opportunity to explain. It was a disguised apology and goodwill. However, Ling Han was not interested. No need. You're busy with work. Leave this kind of thing to the servants. Sheng Enren still wanted to say something, but Xiao Mu's gaze landed on Sheng Enren the moment she entered after finishing her meal. Let Xiao Mu send you back first. Your leg hasn't healed yet, so rest more at home. This indifferent sentence did not contain much concern. It was as if he was just being polite and did not have the warmth from before. Fortunately, Ling Han had always been like this. After being by his side for so long, Sheng Enren was also used to it. On the way back, she sat in the back seat in a daze. When she recalled the scene she saw in the office today, she increasingly felt that Ling Han's attitude toward this Yi Huanyan was extraordinary. If he really hated this secretary as much as he appeared to, he could very well fire her. Why would he be so angry for her every day? She had seen it countless times. Assistant Xiao, how is Secretary Ye's relationship with your President Ling? She asked Xiao Mu, who was driving. Xiao Mu's indifferent expression was reflected in the rearview mirror. There's no difference between a superior and a subordinate relationship. Sheng Enren frowned. A superior and a subordinate relationship? I'm not a fool. Even I can see it. Assistant Xiao, don't tell me you don't know that Yi Huanyan slept with Ling Han. She first found out about this in Bali. After calming down for a few days, she did not think it was a big deal. After all, a man like Ling Han would be targeted by those women if she was not careful. She, Sheng Enren, did not even care about those who wanted to climb the social ladder. With her status in the entertainment industry, she could threaten those people with a few words, and they would all give up and disappear. However, this Yi Huanyan was different from those actresses. She was smart, scheming, and very courageous. She had to be on guard. However, Xiao Mu did not say anything. Why aren't you talking? Sheng Enren frowned. I don't casually discuss my boss's private life. Miss Sheng, don't make me lose my job. Xiao Mu's voice was as cold as a certain someone's. Speaking of this, Shang Anren laughed out loud. What are you afraid of? If you get fired by Ling Han because of helping me, then come to my studio. I guarantee that your salary won't be less than what Ling Han gives you. Qiao Mu chuckled non-committally and still did not give any response to her previous question. Shang Anren did not expect to get anything out of her, so she leaned against the cushion and closed her eyes. Call me when you get there. MHM, late at night. At the Ling family's villa in Jinjiang Park. Yi Huanyan had just finished showering and was about to go to bed when the sound of a car passing by came from downstairs. After a series of random opening and closing sounds, Ling Ling's voice clearly entered the room. Ling Han had returned. She sat up from the bed and stared at the door for a while. Then, there was the sound of messy footsteps. With a bang, the door slammed into the wall with a loud noise. The smell of alcohol hit her in the face. Her body stiffened, and she was enveloped by the smell of alcohol. Even as she breathed, the smell of smoke entered her nose. The heavy smell of cigarettes and alcohol from his body swept over her, almost suffocating her. Who am I? His face was inches away, and his hot breath scattered on her face, but his tone was abnormally cold. You drank too much. She tried to push him away. Who am I? Yi Huanyan. He suddenly raised his voice and fiercely grabbed her hand, pressing her onto the bed. Ling Han, his tone was still cold, and he pressed closer. Yi Huanyan, you have to remember, I am your only man. The pain in her wrist made her suck in a breath of cold air. Looking at his drunken appearance, even if she wanted to explain what happened during the day, she couldn't explain it clearly. His hand was rubbing against the thin fabric of her pajamas, causing her resisting body to soften and gradually become obedient. There was a hint of fragrance in the smell of tobacco. The rich and vulgar smell made her body stiffen, and she blurted out, "Where did you go just now?" 3 words floated into her ears. Where do you think? This vulgar smell was not from Shang Anren. Although her image in the entertainment circle had always been sexy, the perfume she usually used was very high grade, and it was definitely not this vulgar counterfeit. You make it clear. Eating with a client where a man should go. His indifferent look made Yi Huanyan feel that her stomach was overturned. Let me go, don't touch me. What, do you feel disgusted? Ling Han's legs suddenly clamped her wantonly moving body, and his face was gloomy. When you were pulling and pulling other men, why didn't you think that I would also feel disgusted by you? Chapter 133. The smell of perfume became more and more pungent. She tried not to look at his face, but he held her chin and forced her to look directly into his eyes. He lowered his head and bit her lips. There was a heart-wrenching pain on her lips. It was as if a wild beast was tearing her body, almost tearing her apart. In the blink of an eye, her pajamas were torn apart. Without foreplay, the friction between their bodies reached the maximum. She screamed, and her vision turned black. Before she fainted, she saw his red eyes. She seemed to have lost all feeling for a moment. Under the influence of alcohol, the repeated demands made her faint several times throughout the night, but he was still in a manic state. Yi Huanyan had never seen him like this. The fear and panic all over her body fell deeply into the gradually numb nerves. She finally couldn't bear it and fainted again. Ling Han's eyes gradually recovered a sober look. He stroked her cheek with both hands. The headache made him frown slightly. A trace of regret flashed in his eyes. He withdrew his hand, tucked her in, and turned into the bathroom. Fujinyuan Villa. Shang Anren leaned on the bed in the master bedroom. Her injured leg tortured her all night. In addition, Ling Han's attitude towards Yi Huanyan during the day made her even more upset. Looking at the cast on her leg, she frowned and remembered the locked room at the end of the corridor. I have to see what secrets there are in it today. She made up her mind and took out her mobile phone. Sister Sue, help me find someone to unlock it. Yes, now. Half an hour later, the yawning locksmith squatted at the door with a toolbox. He opened the door quickly and looked up at Shang Anren. Madam, is it okay? Hey, this lock won't be broken in the future, will it? No, I just opened it for you. I didn't break it for you. Do you want me to change the lock for you? No, no, Shang Anren quickly waved her hand. You'd better settle the bill with Suli later. Sorry to trouble you. It's nothing. After the locksmith left, Shang Anren took a deep breath and pushed the door open. After turning on the lights, she was stunned by what she saw. The light pink walls, the single bed in the macaron hue, the white gauze curtains, the teddy bears on the bed, and the Barbie dolls on the bookshelf all told the person who stepped into this room that this was a girl's room. In the porcelain white photo frame, a family portrait of four was placed neatly at the head of the bed. The middle-aged man sitting on the chair beside him was tall and straight, and the young woman was beautiful and generous. The young man standing behind them had a calm expression, only revealing a faint smile. The ponytailed girl beside the young man smiled, revealing a mouth of neat teeth, bright and beautiful, with a hint of youthfulness. Ling Han's sister? Shang Anren was slightly stunned. He picked up the photo frame and looked at it carefully. It looked familiar. When she saw the girl inside, her face gradually turned pale. Yi Huanyan. It turned out to be Yi Huanyan. She looked around the room in disbelief and found a lot of photos on the desk, including group photos and single photos of the girl. All of these proved to her that the owner of this room was the owner of this room. It was the girl in the photo. What was the relationship between her and Ling Han? A terrible thought flashed through Shang Anren's mind, and she shook her head violently. Impossible. She had never heard that Ling Han had a sister, and Yi Huanyan's surname was Yi. She barely managed to stand still by holding the corner of the table. Looking at the family portrait, she gradually calmed down. With a click, a photo was saved in her phone. Sister Sue, help me find out the relationship between the four people in this photo. Remember to do it secretly and don't let too many people know. After hanging up the phone, she looked around the room again with a gloomy face. He was willing to let her decorate the entire villa, but he locked the entire room and told everyone not to move. What did he want to hide? Or did he want to keep something? Xiao Mu's words rang in her ears again. Everyone had their own white moonlight in their heart. Then was this place, this room, and everything here his white moonlight. Shang Anren's eyes gradually turned cold as she stared at the photo. No matter what kind of white moonlight you were, she was never afraid of a head-on fight. The charity banquet hosted by Feng Shang was held on Saturday night. The invited artists were all A-list and B-list famous artists in the circle. When Yi Huanyan held Ling Han's arm to attend the banquet, Su Mang, who was standing at the door, showed a meaningful look in his eyes. He winked at Yi Huanyan, seemingly quite satisfied with this result. However, Yi Huanyan was a bit nervous. After all, until half an hour ago, she didn't know that Ling Han would take her to attend the banquet. 2 hours ago, Xiao Mu suddenly took her out of the possible reserved venue for the Pleasure Annual Gala and took her directly to the beauty salon. A bunch of makeup artists and stylists worked around her for more than an hour to change her clothes, do her makeup, and do her hair. In this rush, she didn't even have a chance to ask Xiao Mu what on earth was going on. In the end, she was stuffed into a stretch Bentley at the door. Until she saw Ling Han. He was wearing a wine-red suit with a black half-collar sweater inside. His waxed hair was combed meticulously. He sat in the spacious seat and looked at her expressionlessly. Her face froze. Where are we going? Su Mang's charity banquet. He threw this cold sentence at her as if it was natural to take her there. I'm going with you? Or what? Can you be a driver or a bodyguard if you dress like this? Ling Han was a bit impatient. She was slightly taken aback and asked in a low voice. Why me? Ling Han's gaze froze. He turned his head and said lightly, Anren's leg is injured. Seeing that she was silent, Ling Han turned his head and glanced at her coldly. Seeing her face suddenly stiffen, his lips curled into a playful smile. If Anren wasn't injured, do you think you could attend such an occasion? Yi Huanyan lowered her head and pursed her lips. She was already regretting what she had just asked. She clearly knew that he was such a person, but she still handed the knife to him and let him poke her chest. Maybe she was really out of her mind. Ling Han saw her gloomy expression. He didn't know if it was because of the makeup or something else, but she was obviously thinner than before, and her chin was sharper. Ling Han frowned and showed a displeased expression. Didn't the company give you enough salary to eat? You are as thin as a bamboo pole. With your figure, you can't wear expensive clothes. Any normal woman would misunderstand Ling Han's words, and Yi Huanyan was no exception. After hearing this, she clenched her fingers. She immediately thought of Sheng Anren's proud 36D figure, which was known as the nine-headed beauty in Asia, and her face grew gloomier. Chapter 134. The Bentley slowly stopped in front of the red carpet. Ling Han took the lead to get out of the car. Yi Huanyan was a little nervous. Looking at the flashing lights outside, she felt uncomfortable. Ling Han stood outside the door and frowned slightly. After buttoning up his suit, he stretched out his hand toward the car. The person in the car was slightly stunned and took his hand. The more than 10 meters long red carpet was crowded with reporters waiting for the headlines. As soon as Yi Huanyan got out of the car, there was a lot of discussion wherever she went. Who is this woman? Why didn't Sheng Anren come today? Look, there's a new person beside Ling Han. A new person so soon. Do you know what's going on? Such remarks were widely spread among the reporters who entered the banquet with their work permits. And the content of the live broadcast quickly set off a discussion on the internet. The president of the pleasure group attends the banquet with his new girlfriend. Sheng Anren may have been broken up with him, and such topics were always on the top. In a corner of Fujin Court, when the delicate woman saw such a news, her face was distorted with anger. It was the first time that Yi Huanyan walked in such a big scene in full dress under the eyes of the public. From the moment she got out of the car, she felt that her body was not her own and she could not walk well. The 12-centimeter high heels seemed to become very cumbersome on her feet. She felt like walking on thin ice. President Ling, who is this beside you? Is she your new girlfriend? A reporter in the crowd asked. Yi Huanyan was in a panic. She staggered and fell forward. There was an uproar around. Her palm was clenched. The expected pain did not come, and her body did not hit the ground. When she opened her eyes, she was in Ling Han's arms. He held her shoulder and stood still. He glanced at the reporter, who asked the question coldly. Then he held her hand and left directly. The flashing lights behind him kept clicking. The reporters were quite satisfied. Whether he responded or not, the heartwarming action on the red carpet would become ambiguous evidence. It was bound to make the headlines of tomorrow's entertainment weekly together with the big star who was not present. After entering the banquet site of a hotel, Su Mang personally led the two people to the table closest to the stage. As soon as Ling Han sat down, he started chatting with the rich merchants around him. Yi Huanyan became a vase that served as a contrast. She sat to the side and picked up the juice without saying a word, calming herself down. After Su Mang greeted the important personnel, he sat down next to Yi Huanyan. You look beautiful today. The dress is nice. She winked and looked behind Yi Huanyan. He picked it out for you. Yi Huanyan was slightly taken aback. I don't know. It was probably chosen by the costume designer. This was the truth. Su Mang raised his eyebrows with a non-committal look, but he took a thought-provoking look at Ling Han. It was a long dress with silver wings from BV and a diamond three-piece set that had just been released by Shilloli Jewelry this year. Ordinary fashion designers couldn't buy it even if they could pick out. You walked with him today. Tomorrow's news will be interesting. Su Mang picked up the cup and knocked it gently on Yi Huanyan's cup. A sly smile flashed across his face. Are you unhappy? I'm afraid that movie queen is so angry at home now. Yi Huanyan picked up the cup and drank a little respectfully. He shook his head and said, Sister Su Mang, Sheng Anren is not so easy to bully. Oh, Su Mang was slightly taken aback. I haven't cooperated with her, but she doesn't look like a smart person. Why do you think so? Judging from the fact that she claimed to be Mrs. Ling and stayed with Ling Han for more than a year, it is not something that a smart person can do. Su Mang looked at her meaningfully. She is too insensible. Yi Huanyan lowered his eyes slightly and avoided Su Mang's sight. Sister Su Mang, don't you need to greet other people? Hearing this, Su Mang showed her signature smile. She stood up coldly and elegantly, holding the corner of her skirt. Of course I have to go. I'm just afraid that you will feel bored here for the first time, so I'll chat with you for a while. I'm fine. Yi Huanyan raised her head. Thank you, Sister Su Mang. I believe you will be fine. Su Mang glanced at Ling Han and left lightly. At this time, Ling Han had almost finished talking with the people around him. He turned around and drank some water. The host on the stage was also in place. He announced the official start of the banquet. All kinds of programs were interspersed with things donated by various stars to participate in the auction. There were calligraphy and paintings, as well as various clothes and bags. The auction money would be donated to charity. Therefore, no matter what it was, it could be sold at a surprisingly high price in order to gain a good reputation. President Ling is still the same this year. He doesn't buy anything but donates directly? Yi Huanyan heard a voice from the neighboring seat. She was stunned and looked back at Ling Han. Since Su Mang became the chief editor of Fengshang, he would be invited to such a charity banquet every year. It seemed that he didn't take away any auction items. Did he donate directly every time? Yi Huanyan remembered that there seemed to be no such expenditure in the company's account. In his own name? The next auction item is donated by President Ling of the pleasure group, Ling Han. It is a ballpoint pen sketch named Him in My Eyes. When the host shouted these words, Ling Han and Yi Huanyan looked at the big screen almost at the same time. At the same time, there was an uproar under the stage. Some laughed out loud, and some were surprised. The host joked, "Our Ms. Su Mang has really done her best for charity. She really has nothing to sell. She even takes out the napkins to auction. Everyone, I'm a little embarrassed. How about I take off my suit and auction it?" The audience burst into laughter. Among the host's friends, a group of lively men clapped their hands and praised. The host raised his eyebrows. "That won't do. My suit is rented. I have to return it later." There was another burst of laughter. All right, let's get back to the topic. Although this is just a napkin, it's also a real painting. Overall, the painting is quite profound. This painting was done by a lady that Ling Zong loves deeply. The painting conditions are simple, but it's very storytelling. I think it should be a beautiful love story. It was those made-up love stories that made people cry. Yi Huanyan looked at Ling Han in surprise. She clearly remembered that this piece of paper was torn up in that room at that time. What method did he use to restore it? And why did it fall into Su Mang's hands? Ling Han looked at her with some thought-provoking eyes. He avoided Yi Huanyan's eyes. Looking at the napkin on the stage that was a little funny in the eyes of everyone, he gradually frowned. He gave those pieces of paper to Su Mang because she said that she could restore them. But who gave her the right to take them out for auction? The starting price of the auction. The host deliberately dragged out the last word and winked at the audience. 1 yuan. The audience burst into laughter, but no one noticed that Yi Huanyan's face was pale. Unquestionably, everyone regarded the auction of this napkin as a part of the program. It was just a small episode to adjust the atmosphere. I offer 10 yuan. Someone offered, and some people burst into laughter. 20 yuan. How about 21 yuan? Chapter 135. In the playful bidding, no one noticed that Yi Huanyan's face gradually turned pale. The deep shame in her heart came from the fact that her heart was trampled by everyone. She even didn't dare to look at Ling Han. She didn't dare to know why he did this. Wasn't it enough to humiliate her once? Did he want to humiliate her in front of so many people? Did he want to prove to her how worthless her feelings were? 1 million. A cold voice sounded beside Yi Huanyan, sonorous and powerful. The hostess seemed to be unbelievable. She stared at the direction of the bidder and said hesitantly, "President Ling, 1 million." The laughter gradually died down. Everyone's eyes gradually turned to the direction of Ling Han. Yi Huanyan didn't hear clearly what the hostess said. When she looked up, she met a pair of clear eyes with some anger hidden in them. The hostess saw the astonishment in her eyes. 1,500,000, 2 tables away from Ling Han, a deep voice sounded. The man who made the bid was about 45 years old. His eyebrows were gentle and elegant. There was some banter in his gentle eyes. He nodded slightly to Ling Han. Ling Han subconsciously glanced at Yi Huanyan. "Do you know him?" Yi Huanyan froze for a moment and shook her head. "No, I don't know him." 2 million. Ling Han raised his card. 2,500,000. Ling Han frowned. Since he didn't know him, why was he interested in this napkin, which was useless in the eyes of others? 3 million. 3,500,000. No matter how Ling Han bid, the other party always increased the price by 500,000, and his voice was still indifferent. 10 million. Ling Han raised his card and stared at the man closely. Unexpectedly, under the gaze of thousands of people, the man stopped bidding and took a meaningful look at Ling Han. Then he turned his head and winked at a corner of the stage. Following his gaze, Ling Han saw Su Mang on one side of the stage. His expression darkened. 10 million going once, 10 million going twice, 10 million going thrice sold. All right, our painting will end up in the hands of President Ling of the Pleasure Group. The auctioneer's voice was particularly harsh at this moment. After the so-called small interlude, the remaining auction items were not as lively and interesting as this small napkin. Before the auction ended, a man who looked like an assistant came over and asked Ling Han to go backstage to get the auction items. When he arrived backstage, he met Su Mang, who was holding the napkin sealed by a layer of transparent film made of special material. She leaned against the corner of the sofa and looked at him with a smile. "You know that man, right?" As soon as he entered the door, Ling Han questioned him directly. "Which man?" Su Mang blinked and showed a playful expression. "I'm the one who organized the banquet, so of course I know all the guests." Ling Han frowned and said in a deep voice, "The one who bid with me today." "Oh, you mean Director Lee? We're quite familiar with each other. What's wrong?" Su Mang pretended to ask the obvious. Ling Han slowly exhaled and suppressed his temper. "Sister Su Mang, is it interesting to tease me? Even if you don't sell this painting, I will do it without hesitation if you ask me to pay 10 million yuan. Of course, you pay more than 10 million yuan every year, but you still refuse to be on the list of celebrities in charity. You are too low-key." Su Mang raised her chin and showed an unfathomable smile. "But I always feel a little sorry to ask you to give me money for nothing every year." Ling Han's brows loosened a little. "What do you mean on earth?" Su Mang shook the paper in her hand and asked with a blink, "I'm suddenly very curious about the importance of Yi Huanyan in your heart." Ling Han was silent for a few seconds and stared at Su Mang. "Is this the meaning of you taking this thing out for auction? No matter what the result is, I will definitely return this thing to you in the end." "I'm just curious, Ling Han." Su Mang lowered her head and glanced at the painting. "Although you didn't tell me who drew it, it is not difficult to see that it is the work of Yi Huanyan from the yellowed paper and the letter Y on the corner. If I remember correctly, she studied art in college. So what?" Ling Han's face became a little more serious. "Even if she drew it, so what? I just want to take back what originally belongs to me. It has nothing to do with her." A trace of strangeness flashed through Su Mang's eyes. She raised her eyes and looked at Ling Han. "If Manager Li continues to bid, how much do you think you will give up this auction item?" Ling Han stared at Su Mang for a few seconds and grabbed the paper, leaving only his back to Su Mang and a sentence that had nothing to do with him. "Su Mang, you are just my father's apprentice. Don't meddle too much." After Ling Han left, Su Mang stared at his back for a while. She seemed to see the shadow of another person in her eyes. Suddenly, she felt a little lost. When a usually calm person avoids answering someone else's question and uses personal attacks or drawing a clear line to try to divert the attention of both parties, it means that this kind of question is very important to this person. It can even be said that this kind of question directly hit the vital point of this person. A deep man's voice sounded from the door of the bathroom. Su Mang turned around and glanced at the man. "What do you think of Ling Han's mind when I asked him just now?" The man's shoulders shrugged slightly, showing a look of confidence. He is a 30-year-old man. He should have an adult's view on his feelings. In fact, you don't need to worry so much. As he said just now when he left, you are just Ling Doming's apprentice. In fact, you have nothing to do with him. Su Mang was stunned for a few seconds and sighed slowly. I'm afraid that he can see it clearly, but can't do it. Compared with this, I am more curious about why you are so worried about him. Is it because he is your master's son, or because he is Ling Doming's son? Is there a difference? Yes, the man's eyes deepened a little. Master, there is a difference between you and a man. Su Mang's face was obviously stiff. She avoided the physical contact between the man and her and took a step back. Li Ao, you are meddling too much. In the banquet hall, Yi Huanyan sat at the table and waited until the end of the banquet, but Ling Han didn't come back. After the banquet was over, a teenager dressed as a waiter came to inform her that Ling Han had left in advance. The teenager waiter looked annoyed and apologized again and again. "Miss, I'm really sorry. Mr. Ling told me early in the morning. I was called by the kitchen for something at the last minute, so I forgot about it. Please don't complain about me." Yi Huanyan sighed helplessly. "It doesn't matter. I won't complain about you." She just glanced at the time on the big screen in the banquet hall. It was already 11 o'clock at night. She didn't know whether it was easy to get a taxi in this place. Yi Huanyan was called and turned around. She saw Su Nianhua in a royal blue suit at a glance. He was looking at her with surprise. "It's really you." Chapter 136. Why are you here too? I came with President Ling. Yi Huanyan avoided Su Nianhua's gaze, feeling inexplicably guilty. Where is he? Su Nianhua was slightly taken aback. I haven't said hello to him yet. He did not notice Yi Huanyan's strange expression. He looked around but did not see Ling Han. President Ling has something to do, so he left first. Su Nianhua was slightly taken aback. He left you here alone? Yi Huanyan's lips twitched. It's fine. I'll call a cab home. Where can I get a cab here? Just come with me. I'll take you home. Su Nianhua pulled Yi Huanyan toward the door, without any explanation. There were many reporters at the charity banquet. Yi Huanyan frowned and pulled her hand out. Su Nianhua was stunned. He caught a glimpse of the reporters, who had yet to leave from the corner of his eye. He understood a little and said softly, "There are so many people at the banquet. Let's leave through the back door before the reporters take photos of us." After Su Nianhua signed with pleasure, the company set up a special studio for him. He was responsible for the team and the funding. At the same time, he also took a commission every year. Therefore, he had a certain degree of autonomy in attending such a banquet, and Ling Han and he did not necessarily know each other. The nanny van was parked at the back door. The roly-poly, waiting at the door, was Su Nianhua's agent, Remy. The first time Yi Huanyan saw Remy was the day Su Nianhua came to the company to sign the contract. She did not have much of an impression of this agent, called Remy. He did not seem to be a capable person in the company. She did not understand why Ling Han would assign such a person to Su Nianhua. When he saw Yi Huanyan, Remy was slightly taken aback. He lowered his head slightly and greeted, "Secretary Yi." Yi Huanyan nodded. In the car, Su Nianhua reached out and gave her a hand. Remy closed the car door from the outside, took a deep breath, and frowned as he gripped his phone in his pocket. He then hesitantly got into the passenger seat. Thinking back to the time when Yi Huanyan signed the contract at the company, Su Nianhua felt a knot in his heart. He had a feeling that Yi Huanyan seemed to have encountered something difficult. Last time at the company, your expression didn't seem right. Did something happen? Yi Huanyin shook his head, his voice faint. It's nothing. It's just that the company is quite strict, so I'm usually quite busy with work. At that time, I really didn't have time to talk to you. Sorry. Sun Yanhua looked hesitant. Is your boss Ling too harsh on you? No. Yi Huanyin's face tensed up a little. She looked up and saw Sun Yanhua's clearly suspicious expression, so she said in a more serious tone, it's really not that bad. Every company has its own management system. My job is pretty good. Others can't get it even if they want it. You don't have to worry. Seeing her like this, Sun Yanhua had no choice but to stop asking. Okay then. If you have any difficulties, you must tell me. I'll do my best to help you. Yi Huanyin secretly let out a sigh of relief. It's almost the end of the year. The studio hasn't arranged any work for you, right? Not at the moment. My agent has already arranged some commercials. I'm not too busy. The main work is signed after the new year. Didn't you say that I should go home to visit my parents during the new year? I thought about it, and I should go back. That's good. After the company's annual meeting, you should be able to go home. At the mention of the annual meeting, Sun Yanhua looked up and asked, I heard that at Pleasure's annual meeting, all the employees and artists have to officially walk the red carpet together. Is that true? Yi Huanyin nodded. Yes, that's true. But you don't have to walk the red carpet. After all, there were thousands of people in the company. If they walked down the red carpet one by one, it would be troublesome. An entire night would pass. Plus, some of the more introverted people were not interested in this. Basically, it was discussed in advance. The upper management would bring their artists or family members to walk the red carpet and take the lead to warm up the atmosphere. People like Sun Yanhua usually had to walk the red carpet. After all, the annual meeting was a time for the company's human resources to show their skills. Many famous artists would be shown at this time. This determined the company's market value. So famous artists walking the red carpet was a firm rule of the company. Yen, if you're not busy that day, can you be my female companion? Sun Yanhua's words made Yi Huanyin suddenly look up at him. After so many years, his eyes were still clear and his eyebrows were clean. He did not look like a rock singer at all. Instead, he looked more like a folk singer. At this moment, his spotless eyes were looking at her without blinking. He was very expectant. I might be very busy that day. Sun Yanhua's eyes flashed with a trace of disappointment, but he was unwilling to give up and asked, You don't have to rush to agree. You can think about it again. That kind of gaze was really irresistible. Yi Huanyin frowned and sighed helplessly. Okay, I'll see how it goes on that day. After all, I'm one of the planners of this year's annual meeting. I'll have to help out on the spot. I might not be able to walk the red carpet. It was just a vague reply. It was not a promise. But Sun Yanhua was so happy that the corners of his eyes were full of smiles. Yi Huanyin got out of the car when they reached the entrance of the neighborhood. Let me send you in. It's okay. There are street lights in the neighborhood, so it's quite safe. Nothing will happen. The neighborhood has been under martial law recently, so it's quite troublesome for non-residents to get in and out. Yi Huanyin politely declined Sun Yanhua's kindness and got out of the car. Wait a minute. Sun Yanhua took off his jacket and was about to wrap it around her shoulders when she stopped him. She looked a little flustered. No, it's okay. It's not far. I'll go first. The cold wind was blowing, and her off-the-shoulder dress made her shiver in the cold. She had just said a few words, and her lips were purple from the cold. Sun Yanhua frowned. Stop it. You'll catch a cold again. He draped his down jacket over her shoulders without any explanation. All right, you can go in now. The down jacket was warmed by the heater in the car, and it still had the faint smell of Sun Yanhua's detergent. He did not use perfume, so the smell of detergent was very gentle. It was very cold when the cold wind was blowing on her face. It was fine when she was not wearing it, but now that she was wearing it, she could not control herself and could not take it off. Ling Han might have already fallen asleep. It was just a down jacket, and he would not ask about it. Yi Huanyin took a deep breath. Thank you. Su Nianhua watched her trembling figure disappear into the neighborhood. He turned around and was about to get into the car when he suddenly saw the security office at the entrance of the neighborhood. He frowned and walked straight up to confirm a guess in his heart. Brother, do you still remember me? Oh, I remember you. Su Nianhua, right? The last time you came here in the wee hours of the morning, you even gave me your autograph. Didn't I let you in? The security guard looked at Su Nianhua with a smile. Does it have to be a resident to enter and leave the neighborhood now? Generally speaking, it is, but there are often non-residents who enter and leave. They just have to register their license plate number and come out at a set time. What about people? Do people who don't drive have to register too? Chapter 137. The security guard was slightly stunned and waved his hand. That doesn't matter. Everyone has relatives visiting. How can we care about that? As long as it's not a suspicious person, we usually don't care. Su Nianhua nodded and glanced in the direction where Yi Huanyan had just disappeared. What's the name of the owner of that house? Can I ask? In the face of the security guard's vigilant look, Su Nianhua smiled slightly. I plan to buy a house here, but I heard that all the houses here are sold out, so I want to see if there is anyone who is willing to sell. The location of the house over there is quite good. No wonder you came to our neighborhood so early in the morning last time. The security guard looked as if he had suddenly realized something and laughed loudly. That house probably won't be sold. The owner doesn't lack money. By the way, if you came early, you might have met the owner. The owner, Miss Yi, just left. Su Nianhua breathed a sigh of relief and nodded with a smile. Then forget it. He saw Yi Huanyan's hesitant expression when she put on his jacket. He remembered that when he sent her back several times, she always looked away, as if she was trying to avoid something. There were some strange thoughts in his mind that he couldn't explain. He couldn't tell what he was suspecting either, until he confirmed that Yi Huanyan was indeed the owner of the house. His heart gradually relaxed. Jinjiang Park, District A, Villa 6. The castle-like lights at the entrance illuminated the ground. Yi Huanyan trembled as she keyed in the password. She sniffed and pushed the door open. The lights in the living room were on. After confirming that Ling Han wasn't downstairs, she quickly took off her down jacket and went upstairs to the bedroom with it in her arms. She was so fast that when Ling Ling heard the noise and put on her jacket, she didn't see anyone in the living room. For a moment, she thought she was hallucinating. There was a thin wall between Yi Huanyan's room and Ling Han's room. If there was a slight movement, the other side would hear it clearly. When Ling Han opened the door, Yi Huanyan was not in the bedroom. The sound of running water coming from the bathroom made him frown slightly and take 2 steps in the direction of the bathroom. Yi Huanyan stood behind the bathroom door with the down jacket in her arms. Her heart was in her throat. The down jacket in her hands, which was obviously a man's, suddenly became a hot potato. Amidst the sound of splashing water, she heard Ling Han's light footsteps stop at the bathroom door. Then there was no more movement. Outside the door, Ling Han raised his hand. When it was hanging in the air, he thought of what Su Mang asked him at the banquet. If the 10 million didn't stop, how much did you plan to bid for this painting? His well-defined fingers gradually retracted. His fingers brushed past the material of the pajama pants and then clenched into his palm. Just as he turned around, a ding sound rang. It was as if he had calculated the time. The phone on the bed lit up and a message popped up. Are we home yet? Signed by Su Nianhua. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of knocking on the door suddenly sounded. Yi Huanyan opened the door. The imperative tone made it impossible for her to refuse. After a long time, Yi Huanyan slowly opened the door. She was wrapped in a bath towel. Her wet hair was still dripping on her shoulders. The makeup on her face had not been removed. She looked a little tired and confused. What's wrong? Ling Han's eyes swept through the bathroom. Except for the expensive dress thrown on the ground, there was nothing unusual. It was different as usual. Why did you come back so late? He frowned and asked. When the banquet was over, the waiter told me that you had left. At the banquet, I met someone I knew and sent me back. Looking at her stuttering appearance while trembling with fear, Ling Han's eyes were cold as he questioned her. Su Nianhua. Yi Huanyan's face suddenly froze. After a long time, she nodded. Yes. The few seconds of Ling Han's silence were like the eve of a storm. For Yi Huanyan, it was filled with the fear of the unknown. She even hoped that his anger would come sooner, so that she would not be frightened and that every cell in her body was in a state of war. A cold voice came from above her head. Rest early after the shower. Rush up the revision of the annual meeting plan tomorrow morning. When Yi Huanyan looked up, Ling Han had already walked to the door, leaving only a blurry shadow in the darkness. She suddenly did not know if she should breathe a sigh of relief. Closing the bathroom door, she looked back at the small bathroom window with mixed feelings. The next morning, when she left the house, Yi Huanyan carried the biggest handbag in her closet, but it was still bulging. She hurriedly grabbed a piece of bread from the dining table and rushed to catch the bus before Ling Han woke up. After handing in the final draft of the annual meeting plan in the morning, Su Nianhua's agent, Remy, went to see Ling Han in his office. When he came out, Yi Huanyan chased after him to the elevator and handed him a bag. She lowered her voice and said, Remy, help me return this to Lu. Su Nianhua. Remy was slightly taken aback. He looked at Yi Huanyan with a strange gaze, but he nodded and responded. After returning the clothes and returning to the secretary's office, Yi Huanyan finally relaxed. Sister Yi, President Ling, said that we'll use this draft of the proposal and that we don't need to change it anymore. Xiao Dong walked out of the president's office with a folder and placed the final draft of the proposal on Yi Huanyan's desk. Qiao Mu poked her head out of the president's office. President Ling wants a cup of coffee. Okay, I'll do it. Yi Huanyan stood up reflexively. No need. President Ling said to leave these matters to Xiao Dong. Secretary Yi, you can handle the annual meeting. Yi Huanyan was slightly taken aback when she heard this. Then I'll finish brewing this cup of coffee first. Xiao Song from the planning department will come over later to discuss the venue for the annual meeting with you. Leave brewing the coffee to Xiao Dong. Qiao Mu's tone was solemn. She emphasized her words twice in a row, making it very obvious. Yi Huanyan's brows creased slightly as she watched Xiao Dong hurrying to the pantry. She tried to find a hint from Qiao Mu's face. She tried to probe. Assistant Qiao, how's President Ling's mood today? Not bad. Then lunch. He ate quite well and quite a lot. Qiao Mu reminded as she raised her wrist and glanced at it. Secretary Yi, it's about time. I think you should pack up and meet up with Xiao Song at the elevator. After saying this, Qiao Mu turned around and entered the office, closing the door behind her. The pantry was at the end of the corridor between the secretary's office and the president's office. Yi Huanyan stood in the corridor and could clearly see Xiao Dong's flustered figure in the pantry. She could not help but frown. She didn't know if Ling Han was angry at Su Nianhua for sending her home last night. She also didn't know if it had anything to do with the fact that she was suddenly arranged to go to the venue of the annual meeting. These questions that she should have considered suddenly disappeared. At this moment, there was only one thought in her mind. I should teach Xiao Dong how to brew coffee before Xiao Song comes. Chapter 138. City Center Cultural Center. Yi Huanyan recorded the size of the venue with a notebook and pen in her hands. Xiao Song from the planning department followed her instructions and quickly calculated the tables and chairs needed for the annual meeting. Secretary Yi, why didn't you arrange for it to be in a hotel? There are 3,000 people in the company attending the annual meeting. If you have the ability to find a hotel with such a large banquet hall in Lanjiang City, we'll use that one. It doesn't matter if the food is not good, we can bring our own chef. After explaining, Yi Huanyan put away the tape measure in her hands and turned to look at Xiao Song. It's about the same size as what the person in charge here said. According to the size of 3,000 people, there should be more than enough space to go from the red carpet to the stage. We'll need about 150 long tables for food and drinks. Xiao Song shut his mouth in embarrassment and silently pressed on the calculator while recording every detail that Yi Huanyan gave him. Secretary Yi was indeed as the company's rumors said. She was serious and meticulous in her work. She could not be underestimated. His heart sank when he recalled what the department head told him before he came out. The president's office has never sent someone to watch over the annual meeting planning. This time, President Ling arranged for Secretary Yi to come. It's very likely that he intends to secretly investigate and see if we have neglected or lied to the higher-ups. There are more or less places in the department that I can't reach. You have to be careful with what you say and do. Xiao Song. Yi Huanyan's voice startled him, and he came back to his senses. Huh? What did you say, Secretary Yi? I said it's time. You can get off work. Xiao Song was slightly stunned and looked down at his wrist. Secretary Yi, it's not even 4:30 yet. It'll take more than an hour to get back to your school from here. It'll be 5:30 by the time you get there. Xiao Song was a fourth-year student at a university in Lanjiang City. He was recruited 2 months ago and would graduate next year. Yi Huanyan had seen him a few times in the company. He was honest and had no flaws other than being a little dull. Oh, Xiao Song nodded and turned to walk towards the door. After taking 2 steps, he realized that Yi Huanyan was still standing there. He stopped in his tracks. Secretary Yi, aren't you leaving? I'm not going back to the company. I have to confirm the props for the wedding venue with the prop company. I have to arrange it a week in advance. You can go first. Oh, okay. Just as he turned around and took 2 steps, another voice chased after him. By the way, let's take a taxi back. It's too cold outside. Keep the receipt. I'll reimburse you later. Yi Huanyan's voice actually belonged to the sweet type. When she wasn't talking about work, it could be heard if one listened carefully. The main reason was because she spoke fast and her tone was indifferent, so it sounded a little unreasonable. According to the company's regulations, when traveling on business trips, one should choose the most economical mode of transportation, as long as there were no accidents. From this place, it only took half an hour to get to the company by bus. However, it was a long way to go after getting off the bus. When they arrived, Yi Huanyan took the bus with him. Should he go back and ask him to take a cab? He was stunned. Thinking of the department head's words, he hesitated and said, the company's regulations don't seem to allow this kind of taxi fare to be reimbursed, so. Yi Huanyan frowned and muttered to herself, that's right. How did the Human Resources Department recruit such a brainless intern? She, the executive project manager in charge of the annual meeting planning, had already agreed, but he was still talking about the company's regulations. She really had to hand it to him. Her 10 centimeters high heels created wind under her feet. She impatiently took out 5 100-yuan notes from her wallet and stuffed them into Xiao Song's hands. Consider it a meal supplement for the project staff. Seeing Xiao Song's hesitant expression, Yi Huanyan frowned. You should be busy with your final exams in university recently. Don't tell me you don't have to go back to school to revise? There's nothing to do today. Go back early and do your own things. The closer it is to the end of the year, the busier it will be. When the time comes, you can't blame the company if you don't have time to revise. Xiao Song looked at the 5 bright red notes in his hand with a dumbfounded expression. The internship at Pleasure was calculated by the number of days. It was 50 yuan a day, unpaid overtime, and 20 yuan for business trips. It was really pitifully little. For students in school, the subway fare between school and the company was 10 yuan a day. Including food, there was very little left. Secretary Yi, this is too much, this. Yi Huanyan frowned at his hesitation. In the few times that Yi Huanyan saw Xiao Song, she saw him eating half a cold steamed bun in the cubicle twice. It made her feel very sad. Leave the rest for a cab in the future. Remember to give me the receipt. She always felt that even if she gave him money to leave, he wouldn't take a cab in order to save money. So she asked him for the receipt. Xiao Song walked away, looking back repeatedly. Yi Huanyan was the only one left in the huge cultural center. After looking around, she called the carpet and other props company and was busy until the sky turned dark. When she returned to Jinjiang Court, she learned from Ling Ling that Ling Han had already eaten dinner and gone to bed. It was like this for 3 days in a row. She left early and returned late, plus she wasn't working at the company. The two people very subtly avoided each other. For 3 days, they lived under the same roof, but they didn't even see each other. Pleasure Group, President's Office. Ling Han picked up the teacup that Xiao Dong had just brought in and took a sip. He frowned and looked down at the layer of foam on the tea before silently setting the teacup to the side. Qiao Mu was organizing documents on the side. When she looked up and saw this scene, she hesitated. President Ling, how about we have Secretary Yi transfer back? The planning department has the ability to complete the annual meeting's venue planning independently. It seems like Secretary Yi is using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Ling Han's eyebrows visibly twitched, but he didn't say anything. Qiao Mu then boldly added, Xiao Dong's tea brewing skills are indeed not very good. She didn't even learn half of Secretary Ye's skills. No wonder you're not used to it. Upon hearing this, Ling Han's gaze changed slightly, and his tone turned colder. No need. Before she came to Pleasure Group, I also didn't have the habit of drinking tea. Qiao Mu was stunned. A trace of astonishment flashed through her eyes. Even though Ling Han and Yi Huanyan had always felt awkward, it had never been as strange as the past few days. And this kind of strangeness happened when Yi Huanyan wasn't around. He looked at Ling Han with a frown. He seemed to be engrossed in dealing with the mountainous pile of documents on his desk. Was he really so engrossed? He didn't even finish reading a contract in 2 hours. His work efficiency these past 2 days was very worrisome. What was there to be used to? A habit was accumulated over time. If you wanted to get rid of a habit, you had to take great pains to do so. If you wanted to do it all in one go, you would suffer greatly. After an unknown amount of time, Ling Han threw the teacups on the table into the trash can along with the tea. His voice was somewhat dull. Tell Xiao Dong in the future that she only needs to prepare plain water. Qiao Mu nodded and didn't say anything to remind him. She only lowered her head and smiled helplessly. The person in the situation couldn't see clearly and didn't listen to advice. Chapter 139. Xiao Dong carried a stack of documents and rushed back from downstairs. But he heard whispers coming from the pantry. He could vaguely hear Secretary Ye's name. Her footsteps paused, and her sneakers turned on the floor to stand still. She frowned at the 2 women who were talking as they walked out of the pantry. How did Secretary Yi offend Ms. Sheng? She must be careful when working for Manager Ling. I think there is nothing going on between Secretary Yi and Manager Ling. I think Xing Anren is just being paranoid. Stop fooling around. If there is nothing going on, will Secretary Yi be transferred to another company? It is very tiring to be working outside. Is there no one else in the company? Why must Secretary Yi go? It is winter now, and didn't you hear what Ms. Sheng said to us earlier? She sounded like we will be in trouble if we are too close to Secretary Yi. Who is going to be in trouble? Xiao Dong hugged the documents in his arms and frowned at the 2 women in front of him. Both of them were stunned. Seeing that it was Xiao Dong, they couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Xiao Dong, did you hear what they said? Xiao Dong, I need to remind you to keep a distance from Secretary Yi in the future. After all, you will not feel good if you offend the future lady boss of Pleasure and Pleasure. Xiao Dong frowned. Secretary Yi is following Manager Ling's instructions to prepare the venue for the annual awards ceremony. Why did the 2 of you make it sound like this? Xiao Dong, you are still young and don't understand these things. Ms. Sheng had just come to talk to us for a while. Didn't you hear her tone when she talked about secretary? Xiaodong impatiently interrupted the two of them who were reminding him out of good intentions, and said in a deep voice, I still need to deliver the documents to Manager Ling. You all can take your time. Don't blame me for not reminding you all. If you have time to gossip in the office, you should focus on your work. The two women looked at Xiaodong's back view and felt embarrassed. Bah, who do you think you are? She is just an intern secretary, and she dares to lecture us? That's right. She had only worked in the company for a few years, President's office. When Xiaodong entered the office to deliver the documents, he saw Sheng Anren and Ling Han sitting on the sofa. There are 2 boxes of snacks on the coffee table, and both of them are lovey-dovey. Sheng Anren's coquettish voice gave Xiaodong goosebumps. She put down the document and left quickly. Sheng Anren looked at this rather tactful little secretary and thought of the fact that Yi Huanyan had just been transferred to a project arranged by the annual meeting planning venue. Thinking about it made him feel very happy. Han, why haven't I seen Secretary Yi these past few days? She asked despite knowing the answer. Ling Han frowned and put the dessert that he had only eaten a little back into the delicate floral box. He said in a low voice, Why did you suddenly mention her? Are you friends with her? Sheng Anren smiled slightly. We don't have a friendship, but Secretary Ye's coffee is very delicious. It's much better than the one sold outside. I miss her cooking a little. Oh, is that so? Ling Han's eyes suddenly darkened. You came here just to drink coffee? Sheng Anren was stunned. She thought that Ling Han was joking and pouted. Han, of course I'm here to look for you. I'm just casually mentioning her. You can't be jealous. She reached out to hold Ling Han's arm, but found nothing. Ling Han stood up and walked towards the desk with a cold expression. It's getting late. I still have documents to read. You can go back first. Sheng Anren was slightly startled. She didn't know what she had done to make Ling Han unhappy. Then tonight's dinner, I'll be there. Ling Han interrupted her with some impatience between his eyebrows. Even so, Sheng Anren breathed a sigh of relief. Dinner was arranged in Fujin Court. Except for the swimming pool in the backyard, which could not be used for the time being, the other places had almost been renovated, so she hoped that Ling Han could have dinner with her at home. Of course, it was not just dinner. Night fell. Yi Huanyan put down her handbag at the entrance, changed out of her high heels, and walked into the room barefoot. On the table was the honey water prepared by Lingling. It was a little cold. She grabbed it and drank most of it. She looked up at the direction of the bedroom on the 2nd floor. There was no light. Did he sleep again? Behind him was the figure of Lingling wearing a coat. Miss Yi, you're back. Have you eaten? I'll prepare dinner for you. No, I've eaten. Yi Huanyan turned back and smiled. Go to sleep. Rest early. Lingling wrapped her coat tightly. I have to wait for the young master to come back. He hasn't come back yet. Yi Huanyan was a little surprised. Lingling's expression suddenly became a little strange, as if she was annoyed by her slip of the tongue. She answered hesitantly, Well, yes, he hasn't come back. The young master has something to do. Where did he go? Lingling frowned and let out a long sigh. The house in Fujin Court, Yi Huanyan's face suddenly paled a little. She forced a smile, unwilling to show her weak side in front of Lingling, but her fingers that were holding the stairs were trembling slightly. From the moment Ling Han said that he wanted Sheng Anren to move into Fujin Court, she knew that there would be such a day. There would be a day when Ling Han would appear with another woman in the home that once belonged to them. This day still came. When she was lying on her bed, all the strength in her body seemed to have been sucked out, and she couldn't move. In the dining room of the Ling family villa in Fujin Court, the aroma of red wine. Sheng Anren wore a sexy lace dress and faced Ling Han. On the table were carefully prepared candlesticks, roses, red wine, and steak. The lights in the whole house were dim, as if even the temperature could be adjusted, creating an ambiguous atmosphere. Han, I'm really happy that you let me live here. This is really my favorite house. The house under your name is not worse than this old house. But it's not the same. A faint blush appeared on Sheng Anren's face. This is the house of the Ling family, where you lived. I know it must be different in your heart. This also proves that in your heart, I'm different from others. It's really different. Most of the women in the entertainment circle are big-breasted and brainless. They have the heart to climb up the social ladder, but they don't have such great ability to bring any value to him. But Sheng Anren is different. She has a lot of resources in her hands and is an important partner for him to develop the territory of pleasure. He and she are ambiguous. The boundary is unclear, and the means may be bad, but even if it's not him, there will be other people who will rush to her. Since Sheng Anren sends herself to him, he should not refuse. It's just that he regards her as a partner and a standing money tree of pleasure. This is his idea, and what she is thinking, he can't control and has never admitted it. Sheng Anren is a smart person. She knows that if she wants to be Mrs. Ling, she can't get there in one step, so she takes it step by step. The glass collides in front of the bright red roses. The sound of collision is particularly pleasant in the elegant violin. Her red lips gently sip the glass, and the corners of Sheng Anren's eyes raised a subtle arc. Through the red wine glass, she stared at the man opposite her and drank the wine. Chapter 140. If you want to get there in one step, you have to take risks. The greater the risk, the greater the gain. Han. Ling Han's eyes were a little intoxicated. Sheng Anren called him a few times, but he didn't seem to hear it. He leaned on the chair and was lost in thought. Sheng Anren's eyes flashed with a trace of success. She put down the knife and fork, got up and helped Ling Han upstairs, stumbled open the door of the master bedroom and put him on the bed. After leaning against the bed and taking a breath, she raised her hand and scratched her bright red nails across his cheek. She couldn't restrain her excitement. The delicate and charming face gradually blurred, gradually revealing a sweet and pure face. She didn't put on makeup and smiled sweetly. Ling Han's eyebrows and eyes deepened a little. He suddenly turned over and pressed the person in front of him under his body. He lowered his head and was about to kiss her neck. The strong smell of perfume made him frown. He narrowed his eyes slightly and murmured, "I said, I don't like the smell of any perfume on you." Sheng Anren was stunned for a few seconds, and the sense of urgency suddenly disappeared. Looking at the man who let go of her and lay on his back, she frowned and eagerly got up from the bed. "Han, wait for me. I'm going to take a bath. Anyway, the effect of the medicine is very long. Now, it has just begun to work. Don't worry." There was a sound of water in the bathroom. The man staggered up with the bedpost and went to the bathroom across the corridor as usual. He passed by the locked room and stared at it for a long time. Sheng Anren came out of the bath with only a pure white bath towel wrapped around her body. Before coming out, she carefully confirmed that there was no smell of perfume on her body. She bit her lip and walked towards the bed. "Han, I'm done." Han. Looking at the empty bed, Sheng Anren's face changed. He held the bath towel on his chest and quickly ran towards the bedroom door. The locked room was half open, and the group photo that should have been at the head of the bed was missing. There was the sound of a car starting outside the house. Sheng Anren's face darkened, and he ran downstairs barefoot. They chased him all the way to the courtyard of the villa. The black car only left behind an unpleasant smell, and there was no trace of Ling Han. She angrily looked in the direction where the car had disappeared. She took off the towel wrapped around her head and slammed it on the lawn. The rims of his eyes reddened, and intense anger flashed in his eyes. Ling Han. Jinjiang Park, the Ling family villa. Lingling was dozing off in the nanny's room when she suddenly heard a loud crash outside the house. She panicked and put on her coat to go out to check. Heavens, young master, the cold wind made her shiver. The black car at the entrance crashed into a streetlight, and half of the headlights were broken. A figure staggered out of the driver's seat. At a glance, she could tell that it was Ling Han. "Young master, How can you drive after drinking?" Ling Ling was scared out of her wits and hurried forward to support her. "Are you hurt?" Ling Han shook off her hand and stumbled into the house. There were scattered footsteps on the stairs. When Yi Huanyan saw Ling Han's appearance, her face froze. "What happened?" "Oh, Miss Yi, you didn't see it. The headlights were broken." He drove back. Yi Huanyan frowned and looked out of the house. Under the cover of the streetlight, the expensive car was parked in the middle of the road. The headlights on one side of the car were broken, and the headlights on the other side were flashing intermittently, as if they were about to stop breathing. "Isn't that right? Looks like he drank a lot." Yi Huanyan panicked and quickly walked in front of Ling Han. "Let me see, are you okay?" Unexpectedly, she was pulled into his arms. He buried his head in her shoulder. He reeked of alcohol and that familiar strong perfume. Yi Huanyan was stunned, and she frowned. Seeing this, Ling Ling hurriedly turned and left, leaving only one sentence. "Miss Yi, please help to take the young master upstairs. I'll find someone to tow the car away." Yi Huanyan put her hand on Ling Han's back and slowly clenched it. Her eyes were sad. He had just come back from Sheng Enren's place. He drank like this. In the master bedroom on the second floor, Yi Huanyan supported Ling Han and put him down on the bed, panting. She turned to leave, but was pulled by him and fell into his arms. He was full of strong smell of alcohol, which made people uncomfortable. Yi Huanyan turned her head, but suddenly found that his eyes were red. "What's the matter?" she asked. After a moment of dizziness, she was pressed under his body. The unexpected kiss almost suffocated her. He sucked on her lips, greedy for the unique mint fragrance on her body, and this pure body that belonged only to him. His emotions became more and more indulgent. Yi Huanyan, however, smelled a trace of unusual taste from his strange eyes. At least she wanted to know who he thought was in front of him when he was drunk. "Who am I?" She pressed his big hand down and gasped for breath. Yi Huanyan, his hand loosened a little, so that big hand reached into her private part and teased her. She bit her lip and moaned out of her throat, being rolled by waves and entangled by clouds and rain. The heavy breathing came one after another, and the continuous moaning was the pleasure of unruffled love. The night was hazy, and there was no love, only singing to their heart's content. Late at night, the man beside her was already asleep. His sleeping face was calm and gentle. Compared with his usual appearance, at this moment, he was more like the gentle and beautiful brother Ling Han in her memory. Yi Huanyan watched for a while. After he turned over, she finally steeled her heart and quietly climbed out of bed. She quietly erased all traces of her tonight, as if none of this had happened. She closed the door and returned to her room to sleep peacefully. There had been many nights like this. When there were many social engagements, they would not return home until they were drunk. In those moments when she thought that Ling Han loved her, when the sun rose again and the sun shone on the earth, the drunken pleasure from the previous night would become a sharp blade that he used to mock and humiliate himself, turning all the sweetness and beauty into ashes. No matter what, now she only hoped to secretly keep some of the beautiful memories with him, memories that were not overturned by him, even if it was just deceiving herself. Thinking about it, it was a bit funny. She had slept with him so many times, but this time she did not want to let him know. The next day, the sun rose as usual, bringing a trace of warmth to the cold winter. Ling Han held his splitting headache and climbed out of bed. He looked around, but could not remember how he came back yesterday. He vaguely felt that something had happened, but other than the wrinkles on the bedsheets, everything else was clean. He held the door frame and pushed open the bedroom door. Ling Ling was preparing breakfast downstairs. When she looked up and saw him, she smiled slightly. "Young master, you're awake. Are you having breakfast at home?" "Yes." Ling Han frowned. "How did I come back yesterday? Did you forget? Yesterday, you drove back by yourself, and the car lights were broken. Look, you had to find a tow truck to drag you away. You drank a lot. So why didn't you ask someone to send you back?" Chapter 141. Ling Ling's nagging voice made Ling Han's head buzz. After listening to a few words, he impatiently closed the bedroom door and went back to his room to take a shower. Before taking a shower, he pushed open Yi Huanyan's door and took a look. As expected, there was no one there. At this time, she should have already gone to the annual meeting. Thinking of the blurry scene from last night, he frowned. It was a dream. It didn't matter if it was a dream. In the afternoon, Feng Shang sent someone to the pleasure department to deliver something. The person who came was Ji Xiaoye. After putting down the things, Ji Xiaoye looked around and said hesitantly, "President Ling, is Secretary Yi not here?" Ling Han raised his eyes and glanced at her. "Are you here to do something or to look for someone?" Ji Xiaoye's eyes narrowed. After being stunned for a few seconds, she suddenly remembered that she was no longer his subordinate. So she became bolder. "I'm here to do something. I want to find an old colleague to say a few words. It's also to maintain the relationship between our two companies. Can't I do that, President Ling?" Ling Han's expression was cold. He still lowered his head to look at his documents. "If you're here to do something, you can leave now. If you're looking for someone, you can leave too. She's not here." "Not here." Ji Xiaoye frowned. "Where did you take her?" Thinking of Ling Han's evil deeds in the past, Ji Xiaoye's face darkened. Yen can't be hospitalized again, right? Hey, do you have any humanity?" Ling Han closed the document with a pa sound. He raised his head and stared at Ji Xiaoye with a cold expression. Ji Xiaoye was shocked by his gaze. She subconsciously took a step back and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. "You're thinking too much. Secretary Yi has been transferred to the company's annual meeting. She's been very busy recently." This calm tone made Ji Xiaoye reveal a trace of astonishment. She muttered softly, "That's right. What's with your tone? It's like she's your subordinate." "Secretary Yi. She's indeed just a secretary. You can leave now." Ji Xiaoye tried to argue, but found that she had no place to start. In addition, Ling Han's unusually cold attitude made her wonder what had happened between the two of them. After the door of the office was closed, Ling Han frowned. Not long after, Su Mang called to ask if the things sent were suitable. It seemed that he wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. After beating around the bush for a long time, he finally asked, "I heard that you transferred Yi Huanyan out of the office." Ji Xiaoye's words spread fast. Ling Han laughed coldly. "So what? If you're trying to distance yourself from Yi Huanyan because of what I said that day, I'll feel sorry for her. You think too much, Su Mang. From that day on, you don't plan to call me sister?" Su Mang was a little helpless. Su Mang's sigh came from the other end of the phone. "Forget it. Someone advised me not to interfere in your love life. I just want to help. I hope that you can see your heart clearly. Now it seems that he is right. Just pretend that I didn't say anything." After hanging up the phone, Li Ao touched Su Mang's shoulder and said with a smile, "Do you still think that you are wrong?" Su Mang turned around and shrugged. He will see it clearly one day. Now it seems that I am a hindrance, but who knows? There were 3 days before the annual meeting. The scene of the annual meeting had been arranged. The lights, tables, chairs, carpets, stage effects, and even the stage performances had been rehearsed countless times. The rest was to prepare the invitations to be sent out by the express delivery company tomorrow morning. The express delivery in the same city generally arrived the next day, at most 2 days. Most of the invited partners had been confirmed by phone. The invitations were just a formality. Yi Huanyan planned to go back and distribute the invitations to the internal staff of the company before getting off work. As for the rest of the invitations, Little Song took care of them. "There is a post office next to my school. I can send them by the way when I go back." "Secretary Yi, you don't have to go there again." Yi Huanyan nodded. "Thank you. There is nothing important today. Let's call it a day. By the way, will you come to the annual meeting? I have an exam in the afternoon that day. I may not be able to go. It's a pity. After all, the scene is quite big. There are also many welfare lottery. Everyone in the company can participate. Yi Huanyan showed a trace of pity. Looking at her, Little Song suddenly thought of something. I will try my best. If the exam ends early, I will come over. Well, I will save a seat for you. Yi Huanyan patted him on the shoulder, blinked, and teased him. After all, you are my partner. I will save a better seat for you. You can ask for autographs from the celebrities and give them to the female students. Little Song felt the warmth on his shoulder lingering. He looked at the woman in front of him. This was the first time he felt her eyes are so clear and pure. They are even cleaner than the female students in school. As night fell, Yi Huanyan adjusted the air conditioner at the venue. After confirming that the female stars would not shiver in their off-the-shoulder outfits, she was relieved. Back at the company, most of the assistants had gone home. Only Xiao Dong, who had taken over Yi Huanyan's work, was still in the office. He is packing his things. Xiao Dong exclaimed when he saw Yi Huanyan. Sister Yi, I haven't seen you in a while. Why are you at the company at this time? Yi Huanyan placed a box of invitations on the table. I am here to deliver these invitations. Since you are here, you can be the first to send out your invitation. The black and gold invitation card looks very high-end. There is a silver company logo on the inside of the card. It is made of pure silver, and the workmanship is exquisite. Xiao Dong took the invitation card from Yi Huanyan excitedly. Wow, this is much better than the invitation card from the planning department last year. I want to keep it forever. That's right. When you are broke, you can even sell this piece of silver. Yi Huanyan laughed. Okay, you can go first. I will leave after sending out these invitations. Xiao Dong looked at the box and was shocked. So many? Let me help you send them out. No need. Yi Huanyan smiled. I saw your boyfriend waiting for you downstairs. If he knows I had asked you to stay behind to do voluntary work, he will complain about me behind my back. Then I will leave now. Xiao Dong carried his bag and waved at Yi Huanyan. I want to show my son how our big companies invite their employees to the annual award ceremony. Yi Huanyan was the only one left in the big office. Luckily, the company that made the invitations had distributed the invitations according to the departments. There was also a name on the invitation card, and it saved her a lot of trouble. Yi Huanyan took a deep breath. She distributed the invitations to the assistant group first, and then went to other departments to distribute them floor by floor. Dong Xuebing's phone rang when he reached the finance department. Xiao Dong sounded very anxious. Sister Yi, New Year's Day is over, right? Yes. What's wrong? Is it the year on the invitation card? My invitation card is dated 2011. Am I the only one who is wrong? Yi Huanyan's face froze. She flipped open the invitation card in her hand. At the end of the invitation card, the annual award ceremony was dated 2011. Chapter 142. Xiao Dong's voice sounded very anxious. Sister Yi, are you listening? Yi Huanyan regained her senses and held the invitation cards in her hands. Her face was pale. All the invitations are from last year. Xiao Dong kept quiet for a few seconds. Sister Yi, don't panic. Maybe it is not as serious as we thought. After all, we had informed everyone about the date of the annual award ceremony. No one will care about the dates on the invitations. If it is not important, you will not call me to remind me. Yi Huanyan took a deep breath. She knew it was a serious mistake when she saw the wrong date. If someone were to make a fuss about this, Pleasure's annual award ceremony will become the laughing stock of the industry. The person on the other end of the phone also sucked in a cold breath. Sister Yi, I am rushing back to the company now. What do you need me to do? Yi Huanyan, calm down. Contact the printing company and ask for 50 blank invitations. After that, buy a batch of 202 embossed stickers to cover the original date. After that, we will meet at Binjiang University Town. Binjiang University Town. Xiao Dong was shocked. Why are we going there? Xiao Song had brought back the invitations that were sent to our client. The post office is near his school. I am not sure if he had sent them out. If he had sent them out, we will need to stop the courier before they receive the packages tomorrow morning. We need to change the invitations and send them out. That's why Yi Huanyan asked Xiao Dong to contact the printing company to buy 50 blank invitations. These invitations were sent to our client, and Yi Huanyan wants to handwrite them. After hanging up the phone, Yi Huanyan took back the invitation cards on each table as fast as she could. Then, she took a taxi with the invitation cards and went directly to Binjiang University Town. The university town is located in the suburbs, and it is about an hour's drive from Pleasure Group. When Dong Xuebing arrived at Xiaosong School, it was already dark. The basketball court was brightly lit at night, and the members of the school's basketball club were having a practice match. Yi Huanyan was dressed in a professional suit and a gray cashmere coat. Her exquisite makeup made her look particularly elegant and eye-catching in the university campus, especially when she rushed into the all-male basketball court with a cardboard box in her arms. In the middle of winter, the sweaty boys in singlets had endless vitality. They looked like a basket of radishes, and it was hard to tell them apart. Yi Huanyan was dazzled by the matching basketball jerseys. She couldn't tell which one was Little Song. Hey, Songlin, good shot. On the basketball court, a tall and handsome figure made a slam dunk and scored a goal, causing a burst of cheers from his teammates and cheerleading girls. Hurry up and defend, damn it. After the referee's whistle, the match was paused. Songlin. Yi Huanyan suddenly heard this voice. Looking in the direction of the voice, she saw a familiar figure in the distance. In her excitement, she desperately waved and shouted, Songlin, Songlin. Her voice was quickly drowned out by the cheers of the boys and girls, and the excitement caused by the goal on the basketball court completely drowned out her voice. Songlin was lowering his head and wiping his sweat when a teammate poked him. Hey, there's a beauty over there. She seems to be looking for you, Songlin. Don't talk nonsense, what? Songlin glanced at a figure from the corner of his eyes. He suddenly raised his head and said in disbelief. Secretary Yi Huanyan trotted over with the cardboard box in her arms. She passed through the whistling of the boys and finally arrived in front of Songlin with great difficulty. She was so tired that she gasped for breath. I finally found you, walking on the school's leafless Wudong Avenue. Yi Huanyan drank water while calming her heart that was beating rapidly due to lack of exercise for a long time. Little Song held the cardboard box. Secretary Yi, how did you find the basketball court? Your dormitory auntie told me. Yi Huanyan slowly exhaled. I called you, but you didn't pick up. Fortunately, I remembered your major, and it's also fortunate that you're in the same class. Your major is living in the same building. Sure enough, that batch of invitations had been sent out by Little Song. Her hope was dashed, and it was destined that Yi Huanyan would have to wait here for the next day when the post office came to collect the parcels to explain. Then what do we do now? Little Song scratched his head and felt a little apologetic. If he had known, he wouldn't have sent them out in such a hurry. Yi Huanyan patted the cardboard box and sighed. Is there a quiet place in your school? You have to lend me a place, the kind that can stay overnight. These invitations have to be changed. Little Song was slightly stunned. More than 3,000? Not that many. 3,000 people is enough, including the family members of some employees and business partners. There are only 2,159 invitations. 50 of them need to be handwritten. Even so, one night was enough to choke him. Sister Yi, I can ask my classmates for help. No. The fewer people know about this, the better. Yi Huanyan rejected. You just need to help me find a place to stay overnight. Then you can go back and rest. Looking at Yi Huanyan's tired face, Songlin felt bad. He frowned. Secretary Yi, I don't have classes tomorrow. I can help you. Yi Huanyan looked at him. She thought about how she and Xiao Dong might not be able to complete the task with so many invitations. So, she did not reject him. Jinjiang Park Villa. Ling Han leaned against the headboard and fell asleep a few times. He woke up intermittently a few times. Late at night, when he opened the sliding door separating the bedrooms, he realized that Yi Huanyan had not returned. He frowned and looked at the contact list on his phone. After thinking for a long time, he closed his phone and turned over to get into bed. He stayed up all night until the next morning. A ray of sunlight shone into the bedroom from the window. The man on the bed suddenly opened his eyes and opened the door. She still had not returned. This was not the first time that she did not return home at night. But every time there was a warning. What was going on this time? He quickly dialed the phone. After a while, a man's voice came from the other end. "Hello." The man's voice was obviously hoarse because he had just woken up. On the other end of the phone, Ling Han frowned. His face quickly darkened. His voice was dull. "Who are you? Where's Yi Huanyan?" "Secretary Yi, she is beside me. She's asleep." Hearing this, Ling Han's face suddenly darkened. There was a clear flash of coldness in his eyes. He stood up abruptly and raised the volume of his voice. He was so agitated that there was a strong tremble in his voice. "What did you do to her? Why did you let Yi Huanyan answer the phone? Why is her phone in your hands?" The person on the other end of the phone seemed to be frightened and was silent for a few seconds. After a while, he stuttered a sentence. "I'm Little Song. Secretary Yi, she." Ling Han's voice was very cold, as if it was filled with a murderous rage. He paused after every word on the other end of the phone. "I don't care who you are. Tell me clearly, where is Yi Huanyan now?" The phone was suddenly hung up. The loud sound made Song Lin frown deeply. He pulled the phone away from his ear. The inexplicable call with the big boss just now made him a little confused. From the corner of his eye, he glanced at Yi Huanyan, who was sleeping on the table. He yawned in a daze, then looked the time on his phone and suddenly jumped up. 6 o'clock. The post office was about to open. Xiao Song went to the post office to change the invitations. "I will go back to the company to distribute the altered invitations later." Yi Huanyan nodded. She was still confused as to why Ling Han would appear here. Xiao Dong scratched her head with a puzzled look. "But, Manager Ling, how did you know Sister Yi didn't go home last night?" Yi Huanyan looked at Ling Han stiffly. "And why did you come to school?" At this time, Xiao Song opened the door with a copy of the courier form from the post office and interrupted Xiao Dong's question. Xiao Song pushed the door open and panted heavily as he held onto the door frame. "Secretary Yi, Sister Dong, we are here to collect yesterday's accountants." We had just changed all the invitations. When he looked up, he suddenly saw his boss looking at him coldly. His face froze for a moment. "Manager Ling, you, after leaving the school." Ling Han, conveniently, sent Xiao Dong home to rest. After Xiao Dong got out of the car, only Ling Han and Yi Huanyan were left in the car. Yi Huanyan sat in the front passenger seat with an embarrassed expression. "Did the printing company really call you?" Ling Han's explanation to Xiao Dong and Song Lin was that after the printing company found out about the printing mistake, they called him to apologize. So he called to remind Yi Huanyan, but Xiao Song picked up the phone and he came to school directly. It sounded very reasonable, but after careful consideration, it was very far-fetched. As the CEO of Pleasure, Ling Han had so many things to deal with every day. It was already impressive that the printing company could only call Chiao Mu. How could such a small printing company have Ling Han's phone number? Moreover, it sounded too unbelievable that he personally drove to the university town in the suburbs because of a small mistake in the annual meeting planning. Yi Huanyan did not know if Xiao Dong and Xiao Song believed him, but she was very skeptical. The man beside her looked ahead expressionlessly. His knuckles were distinct as he held the steering wheel. His voice was indifferent. "It's such a big mistake, but you didn't report it to your boss first. Instead, you questioned your boss first?" Yi Huanyan was slightly taken aback. "But I've already solved it." Really? What about the overtime labor costs and the additional financial expenses? Don't you think those are counted? Labor costs? Yi Huanyan was stunned. Only Xiaodong, Xiaosong, and I worked overnight to complete the project. The financial expenses were just to buy some stickers. That's counted? Moreover, this was the printing company's problem. The printing company would bear all the losses. Ling Han turned his head and glanced at her unhappily. That Xiaosong? Why did he help you? Yi Huanyan frowned. He's an intern who's following me for the annual meeting project. He helped me because we have a good relationship. There's no free lunch in this world. A cold voice came from beside her. A trace of doubt appeared in Yi Huanyan's eyes as she looked at Ling Han in confusion. Ling Han's face darkened. No one will help others for no reason. I don't think I need to tell you this. Don't forget the pain after the scar has healed. Yi Huanyan's face stiffened. Although she had relied on Ling Dongming and Jiang Milan's help to get to where she was today, she had built up her prestige in the company bit by bit. She had grown into a slick secretary in 3 years. Not only did she need the guidance of her seniors and family members, but the only thing that could help her grow quickly was painful work experience. It was very painful at first, but she was very grateful later on. When she had just started her work, she was smashed to the ground by these experiences. It made her realize that there was no free care in the workplace. All of this started when she first entered pleasure 3 years ago. She didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You should know very well that if Jiang Milan hadn't seen through the sinister intentions of the siblings 3 years ago, what would you be like now? What would pleasure be like now? Now that I think about it, it's all thanks to Jiang Milan's vicious methods. She didn't hesitate to fire 2 of the company's founding members to protect your insignificant reputation. When Ling Han mentioned Jiang Milan, his contemptuous tone made Yi Huanyan's face turn pale. Although the scar had healed, she did not forget the pain. From the corner of his eye, Ling Han caught a glimpse of her frosty expression and frowned. It's just a fall from learning how to walk. Just remember the pain. What's the use of pulling a long face? She took a deep breath, lowered her head, and asked in a muffled voice, I haven't asked you this before. How did the matter between Assistant Jing and Jiang Beru end? At the mention of these 2 people, Ling Han's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. People who betray pleasure don't have a good ending. Don't forget that Ling Dongming personally asked me to deal with the matter between them. After pleasure's incident, Ling Han returned from a business trip. Ling Dongming had just finished his appendectomy, and Jiang Milan fired a few senior executives who knew about it. After suspending Yi Huanyan for investigation, she waited for Ling Han to come back. In the end, the whole thing was handled by Ling Han. We're here. Get off. Yi Huanyan raised her head to take a look and was stunned. Aren't we going to the company? In front of her was a bus stop. It was the place where she usually took the bus to get to the subway from Jinjiang Court. With your current mental state, you'll only cause trouble at the company. Go home and sleep. Seeing that you saved the situation in time, I won't deduct your full attendance for this month. I'll talk to the Human Resources Department. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. Go home and sleep? Ling Han's serious gaze didn't look like he was joking at all. She said anxiously, that won't do. I have to go to the venue today to confirm the drinks and dishes for the annual gala. I have to ask the chef to taste the dishes and watch them deliver the drinks to the venue. Do you want me to drive you home personally? A cold glint flashed across Ling Han's eyes. Looking at her stunned expression, he didn't dare to refute, and his tone softened. Go back and rest. This is an order. I'll get someone to take over your work. The car drove past, leaving behind the smell of exhaust fumes. Yi Huanyan pursed her lips and looked up at the bus stop. After confirming that the car was out of sight, she resolutely walked to the subway station. She had put in a lot of effort in preparing for the annual gala. How could she go back and rest and let someone else take over at this time? At the cultural center in the city center, Yi Huanyan arrived 2 hours earlier than usual. The venue hadn't started work yet. She slumped on the sofa in the lounge and leaned against it in a daze for a while. Secretary Yi, a familiar voice, woke her up. She shrunk her neck and got up from the sofa while rubbing her temples. She felt inexplicably dizzy. "Are you okay?" Xiao Song looked concerned and seemed to be worried about her body. "Why are you here? I thought you weren't coming today. What time is it?" Yi Huanyan frowned and couldn't open her eyes. Xiao Song raised her wrist. "It's past 10. Assistant Xiao has already arranged for the people at the venue to make the final arrangements." "What?" Yi Huanyan abruptly returned to her senses. "Xiao Mu came?" Xiao Song nodded in surprise. She didn't know why Yi Huanyan was so excited about Xiao Mu's arrival. In the afternoon, in the office of the president of the pleasure group, when Ling Han returned to his office after a meeting and saw Xiao Mu, he was slightly startled. "You finished setting up the venue for the annual gala?" "Secretary Yi is here," Xiao Mu said calmly. "Plus, it takes too long to set up the venue. It's not as time-saving as Secretary Yi doing it yourself. So I came back." Ling Han frowned and revealed a displeased expression. This woman really didn't know what was good for her. He told her to go back and rest, but she actually ran to the venue. At the annual gala, the venue lights were being adjusted and the drinks were being prepared. It was already past the scheduled time to get off work. Yi Huanyan recorded the number of workers in her notebook and prepared to order food. She didn't notice that Xiao Song beside her was looking into the distance and gradually showing a strange expression. "Sister Yi, that's Sun Yanhua, right?" She was startled and followed his gaze to look into the distance. Backstage in the venue's lounge, a man wearing a beige down jacket and casual attire was walking toward them. His 1.85 meters height was especially eye-catching in the crowd. She didn't need anyone to introduce him to recognize that he was Sun Yanhua. Several assistants carrying bags followed behind Sun Yanhua, and they could smell the aroma of food from afar. "Why are you here?" Yi Huanyan was astonished. "I don't have any work today, so I went to the company in the morning and found out that you've been busy with the annual gala. I reckon that you haven't eaten dinner yet, so I came to see you." Sun Yanhua smiled and looked back at his assistants. "Go and distribute the dinner to everyone first." Chapter 145. Yi Huanyan was worried about ordering food, so she breathed a sigh of relief when the problem was suddenly solved. "You came just in time. It's snowing heavily outside. I called a few times to order food, but no one was willing to deliver it." There were still snowflakes on Sun Yanhua's shoulder. She patted it twice and smiled at him. Xiao Song's face stiffened as he asked hesitantly, "Secretary Yi, are you close?" Sun Yanhua finally noticed the childish boy standing beside Yi Huanyan. He looked at him hesitantly. "Who is this?" "Oh, I forgot to introduce you. This is my assistant, Xiao Song. He's been helping me out for the past few days." Yi Huanyan glanced at Xiao Song. "You know Sun Yanhua, so I don't have to introduce him." Xiao Song nodded hesitantly. "Is Sun Yanhua's secretary Ye's boyfriend?" A strange look flashed across Sun Yanhua's eyes when he heard this. Yi Huanyan chuckled. "No, that's not it." "No, why would you ask that? He's a superstar, and I'm just a lowly secretary." After saying this, she turned around with a relaxed expression and helped Sun Yanhua's assistant distribute the dinner boxes. Most boys in university were straightforward. They were immature and childish, but they were also straightforward and decisive. As soon as Secretary Yi left, Xiao Song looked at Sun Yanhua with a deeper gaze. "You like Secretary Yi, don't you?" Sun Yanhua was slightly stunned. He looked at the clear eyes in front of him and smiled in his heart. "Yes, I do." "Why? How long have you known each other?" Hearing this, Sun Yanhua frowned slightly. "It's our first time meeting. Don't you think you're asking a little too many questions? Give me a reason to tell you." "Because I plan to pursue Secretary Yi." When it comes to love rivals, of course I have to know myself and the enemy to win 100 battles. Su Nianhua's gaze tightened. But when he looked at the rash young man in front of him, he suddenly relaxed and laughed. Then I can't tell you. Hey. Little Song watched as Su Nianhua walked towards Yi Huanyan and secretly clenched his fists. He didn't like Su Nianhua's attitude of treating him like a child, and Secretary Yi was always like this. They were only 3 or 4 years older than him. In the direction of the lounge, a pair of bony hands threw the silver insulated container into the trash can, followed by a sound that was neither loud nor soft, which was drowned out by the laughter of the people in the cultural center. The tall and straight figure of 187 meters seemed to carry a cold chill. After a dangerous gaze swept past the 2 men who were tit for tat, it landed on Yi Huanyan, who was laughing happily, and stopped for a few seconds. Then a wave of anger rose in the man's eyes, and the veins on the back of his hand popped out. After taking 2 steps forward, he seemed to have thought of something and turned around to leave, without looking back. Yi Huanyan was holding a lunchbox in her hand. While she was talking and laughing with Su Nianhua beside her, she suddenly felt dizzy. When she lowered her head, she glanced in the direction of a lounge from a corner of her eyes and seemed to see a familiar figure. She was slightly startled. When she raised her head again, she didn't see anyone. What's wrong? Su Nianhua saw that she didn't look well and asked with concern. Yi Huanyan was stunned for a few seconds and shook her head. Nothing. Maybe I didn't sleep well. My eyes are a little blurry. Late at night, in the office of the president of the pleasure group, the tall figure paced back and forth in the office countless times. Other than the 24-hour rotation of the technical department, everyone in the building had already gotten off work. A faint light was lit up from a window on the 20th floor, which seemed very insignificant. He raised his wrist and looked at the watch. The needle ticked to 11 o'clock during the annual meeting. If it weren't for the special circumstances, Yi Huanyan would have arrived home around 12 o'clock. He frowned, picked up the black coat on the sofa, and walked toward the elevator. Midnight. Su Nianhua's car was parked at the entrance of the community. Yi Huanyan got out of the car and smiled at him. Thank you for sending me back. You don't have to be so polite with me. Su Nianhua lowered his head and pulled her wrist. Your arm is fine now, right? During dinner that night, he found that she was in a trance. He touched her forehead and found that she was running a fever. He originally wanted to take her directly to the hospital, but with her stubborn personality, she insisted on finishing her work. He had to stay with her at the scene until 11 o'clock. Then he went directly to the hospital for an intravenous drip. Yi Huanyan's blood vessels were thin. The nurse who inserted the needle looked very young and was not experienced enough, causing her arm to suffer for no reason. It's okay. It's not bleeding anymore. Yi Huanyan took off the cotton swab to stop the bleeding. There was a bruise where the needle was inserted. There was a trace of blood, but it was no longer bleeding. It was late at night, but a floor lamp next to the sofa was still on in the living room of the villa. Yi Huanyan gently pushed open the door, took a deep breath, and walked towards the dining table. You're back now? Just as she poured a cup of tea, she heard a cold voice behind her. It was like a ghost in the dark night. She was so scared that her hands trembled. The tea and the teacup fell to the floor with a loud noise. The living room fell into a moment of silence. Yi Huanyan stared blankly at the figure who had appeared behind her at some point in time. She gasped slowly and said, You scared me. You have an invitation to change today? Ling Han's face was inexplicably gloomy. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. She frowned and said, The setup for the annual meeting is 11:30. Didn't I tell you to go home and rest? Someone will take over today's work? Why didn't you listen? Ling Han interrupted her. The anger in his eyes became more obvious. I'm almost done. There should be a beginning and an end to things. A beginning and an end. His eyes darkened. Did you think that I wouldn't know anything when you avoided me and met Su Nianhua outside the company? Yi Huanyan's face froze. What, did you say? You have a little assistant who's trying to please you, and an old lover who's asking about your well-being. No wonder you didn't want to go home and rest. Do you enjoy the feeling of being surrounded by people? There was a flame burning in Ling Han's eyes. Gradually, it burned into a raging fire that was about to start a prairie fire. Yi Huanyin pursed her lips. Ling Han, it was your decision to transfer me outside to be in charge of the annual meeting. It was also your decision to let Xiao Song from the planning department be my assistant. As long as you don't bring your prejudice against me to work, I don't care. It's up to you. She squatted down to pick up the broken cup on the ground. No matter how cold her words were, she couldn't help but feel sad. Her eyes inexplicably turned red. She avoided Ling Han's gaze. A sharp pain came from her arm. Yi Huanyin cried out in alarm. Her whole body was pulled up from the ground by a strong force. Her arm that was injected with needles was almost torn apart. She raised her head and frowned. Ling Han was looking at her condescendingly. His face was gloomy as he spoke word by word. Are you blaming me for giving you a chance to flirt with men? Chapter 146. Ling Han's every word sounded like he was about to spit fire. The emotions that had been suppressed for half a month finally exploded in front of Yi Huanyin's indifferent face at this moment. I said I didn't. If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do. This kind of attitude was undoubtedly adding fuel to the fire. After the drip, Yi Huanyin's heart was only tired. She had no time to deal with Ling Han's unpredictable temper. The stable but busy half a month had almost made her forget what the man in front of her looked like when he was angry. It was only when her back slammed into the dining table that she realized how familiar this scene was. A scream came out of her throat. Before she could stop his invasion, her hands were tied by a belt buckle to the metal pillar of the chair on the other side of the dining table that was just above the dining table. After the scream, her hands were tied behind her head, and she could only slide along with the belt on the metal pillar of the chair behind her. She couldn't break free. Her whole body was spread out on the cold dining table, like a delicacy that was about to be enjoyed. Panic appeared in her eyes. During the struggle, the belt buckle made an ear-piercing sound of friction on the metal pillar of the chair, but none of this could stop the man's rough actions. The black stockings under the tight skirt and the lace underwear were pulled to her ankles, and a chill came over her. Before she had time to prepare, her pupils suddenly contracted, and a stifled and heart-wrenching groan echoed in the living room for a long time. The blood drained from her face, and she was as pale as a sheet of paper. The violent rise and fall of her chest and the big beads of sweat on her forehead announced her pain at this moment. The heavy dining table shook violently from the impact, and the table was instantly covered with tea. The warm tea seeped into her sweater and shirt and gradually turned cold, spreading from her back to her whole body. In the water stains, the man held her legs. His eyes were red, and his brows were furrowed. He spared no effort to hit her, and he couldn't wait to rub her into his body and become one. She gritted her teeth, but she still couldn't help but moan. The man's eyes deepened, and his hoarse voice sounded in the dark. I haven't done it in so long. It's much tighter than before. Shame filled every nerve in her body, but the physical pleasure made her pale cheeks flush red. She couldn't stop gasping for breath, and tears fell from the corners of her eyes, mixing with the water on the table. She didn't know how long the waves lasted, but when they reached the climax, her entire body arched upwards, her eyes widened, and she suddenly let out an exhausted groan. Then her vision turned black, and she fainted. In a daze, she seemed to hear someone sigh in her ear. The pain in her arm gradually eased, and she was surrounded by a warm embrace. She was greedy for this kind of temperature, greedy for this kind of smell, greedy for this kind of illusory warmth. Ling Han covered her with a quilt. When he was covering her with the quilt, he saw the bruise on the back of her hand. He could vaguely see the needle mark. He frowned and stood by the bed for a long time without leaving. He looked at her slightly thin face, his eyes filled with regret. Somehow, she thought of what Su Mang said on the phone again. What exactly is Yi Huanyan in your heart? Maybe you don't even know it yourself. Outside the window, snowflakes covered the windowsill layer by layer, covering the desolate winter and people's hearts. But when the ice and snow melted and the flowers bloomed in spring next year, there was still a long, lonely scenery. That was an inevitable transition period. The world was like this, and so was life. The next day was the annual meeting of the pleasure group. According to the regulations, the employees of the pleasure group only went to work in the morning of that day. From noon onwards was the annual spring festival holiday of the company. After attending the annual meeting, it would be a new year when they met again. Because of the hurry, Yi Huanyan went to the scene with a dress for the annual meeting banquet. She was so busy that her feet didn't touch the ground. She adjusted the lights, checked whether the drinks, sweets, and staple food were in place, adjusted the temperature of the air conditioner in the room, and communicated with the host of the banquet. In the Qinghe apartment in the city, in Sun Yanhua's decorated house, the stylists were busy around him. This was the first time that he attended the annual meeting of the company, and the company was also preparing to introduce him to join, so his team paid great attention to today's occasion. Brother Hua, are you sure you don't want to contact Miss Guanai about your female companion? The agent over there. No need, I already have a female companion. Sun Yanhua interrupted his agent, Remy, and raised his eyes to look at his hair in the mirror. It's about time, I'll go out and make a call. The stylist nodded and sprayed a hair styling spray on his hair, and the job was done. Sun Yanhua closed the bedroom door, lowered his head, and dialed Yi Huanyan's number. His gentle gaze fell on the ash-blue bedsheets. In the dark gold gift box, there was a dress with black as its main color. The material and cut were all of the best quality. Yi Huanyan's anxious voice sounded from the other end of the phone, and Sun Yanhua's eyes instantly lit up with a smile. Are you done? Not yet. There's a problem with the waiters, and I need to deal with it. I can't do what I promised you. I'm sorry. Sun Yanhua's eyes dimmed a little, but it quickly disappeared. It's okay, you go ahead. You should have a female companion, right? I saw on the host's list that you'll be entering with Guanai. Yi Huanyan felt a little apologetic because she was the one who missed the appointment. Fortunately, Sun Yanhua had a female companion on the list, which comforted her a little. The other end of the phone gently responded, and she breathed a sigh of relief. Then I'll talk to you later. I need to confirm with the manager about the waiters. The phone hung up in a hurry, and at the same time, the agent knocked on the door. Brother Hua, we're almost ready to go. Miss Guanai, I'll explain to her, let's go. Sun Yanhua's hand slid across the box containing the dress. Then he closed the lid and held it in his hands. At 7:30, the sky gradually darkened. The stage, the red carpet, and the drinks were all ready. Elegant violin music played in the background, and all kinds of instruments were played live. It was very grand. After seeing that everything was in order, Yi Huanyan breathed a sigh of relief and went to the dressing room to change clothes. Yi Huanyan wore a beige off-shoulder dress that was elegant and decent, low-key and not ostentatious. Looking at her pale face, Yi Huanyan took out a lipstick from her bag and pursed her lips. Finally, she looked a little better. The passionate scene last night was still replaying in her mind. When she thought of it, she felt the tip of her nose sour. She raised her head to suppress her emotions, put the lipstick back into her bag, and turned to walk out of the dressing room. The people who should come have basically arrived. Sheng Anren held Ling Han's arm and was surrounded by people, talking and laughing. She caught a glimpse of a light yellow figure coming out of the lounge. When she looked up at the man beside her, she saw that his eyes had followed the figure. Under the thick eyelashes, a pair of eyes were dyed with a flame of jealousy. Han, Mr. Li is over there, let's say hello. She deliberately pointed to the direction behind the figure, and a meaningful look appeared in her eyes. Chapter 147. When Sheng Anren took Ling Han's arm and walked towards her, Yi Huanyan's mind was in a mess. The man who had been with her the night before was now holding another woman in his arms, and his face was calm. Her fingertips trembled slightly, and her legs seemed to be stuck to the ground, and she couldn't walk. Ouch! With a cry of alarm from Sheng Anren, crash, a loud noise, and the camera wire bracket on one side collapsed into a mess. Ling Han subconsciously held Sheng Anren on his side, but his eyes fell on Yi Huanyan, and a trace of concern flashed through his cold eyes. Yi Huanyan felt the cold liquid suddenly penetrating from her chest. Before she could return to her senses, she was hit and staggered. Her back hit the support of the camera hard. If the photographer hadn't helped her, she would have fallen directly on her back. The loud noise attracted everyone's surprised eyes. Sheng Anren's face was still in shock. Secretary Yi, no matter how busy you are, you should watch how you walk. How did I provoke you to hit me? Yi Huanyan's face was stiff, and there were countless voices shouting in her throat, but her eyes fell on Ling Han's hands that supported Sheng Anren. But she couldn't say a word. Secretary Yi, you see that you are so careless. Fortunately, my clothes are all right. I have to walk the red carpet later. Sheng Anren's voice was a little sharp. Yi Huanyan clenched her fists in the face of the crowds, pointing and whispering. The scarlet juice spilled all over her chest. More than half of her dress was stained with the color of the red wine juice. It was cold and penetrating to the bone, penetrating her skin, and the eyes of ridicule or contempt around her made her even more at a loss. Ah, Secretary, your clothes. Sheng Anren pretended to be surprised and covered her mouth. It seemed that she was more aware than the onlookers that Yi Huanyan was clearly stained. She leaned on Ling Han's arms as if she was weak. Han, although Secretary Yi hit me, it's my fault that I didn't hold the cup firmly. Otherwise, I'll compensate Secretary Yi with a new one. Pretending to be weak, this contemptuous tone is a kind of humiliation. Yi Huanyan looked up at Ling Han in a daze, trying to find a trace of comfort in his eyes. The air was filled with the whispers of the annual meeting, and a subtle atmosphere spread between the three people. You go back to rest first. You don't have to attend the annual meeting. His thin lips parted slightly, and as he opened and closed his mouth, he threw out these words with extreme coldness. There was a moment of silence. Yi Huanyan's face was drained of blood. This is the annual meeting she has been preparing for more than a month. She has been running for more than half a month at the scene. Just these 3 hours are the time for her to look at her own results. He even wants her to leave this place for Sheng Anren. How can he say such cruel words? To be honest, Secretary Yi, you are too damaging to the company's image. Go back first. Sheng Anren pulled out a card from her handbag and handed it to her. Secretary Yi, take this card and I'll pay you for the clothes. Ling Han's brow wrinkled slightly and glanced at Sheng Anren unhappily. It's too much to say such a thing at this time. Yi Huanyan didn't notice Ling Han's expression. She gritted her teeth and tried to take a step forward, but found that she couldn't even take a single step. The gold card reflected the light in front of her eyes, as if she had been slapped in the face in front of so many people. Sheng Anren's eyes seemed to be warning her that she was worthless in Ling Han's eyes for the shameful things. A trace of weight and warmth came from her shoulder. She raised her head in surprise. Su Nianhua was frowning. I'm looking for you. Why are you here? The suit jacket was on her shoulder, heavy, and her palm was warm. In the envious eyes of the onlookers, she was pulled away by Su Nianhua. Secretary Yi and Su Nianhua know each other? He looks very familiar. I'm going to ask Secretary Yi for an autograph later. My daughter likes Su Nianhua very much. When those discussions fell into Sheng Anren's ears, they lingered like flies. The original humiliation was instantly replaced by the envy of these women. She raised her head and looked at Ling Han unhappily. Han, we. Before she finished speaking, she found that his eyes were burning with unknown flames. He stared at the direction where the two people had just disappeared and was lost in thought. She pursed her lips tightly. Even if Ling Han had that woman in his heart, she was worthless in front of herself. She could never be the one who walked the red carpet with him tonight and accepted the praise of everyone. That's enough. Han, it's almost time. Let's get ready. It's time to walk the red carpet. The host's voice soon attracted everyone's attention. The artists who should walk the red carpet were also approaching the end of the red carpet. With the sound of the piano accompaniment, they slowly stepped on the carpet sprinkled with petals. The first to appear was the female singer who won the awards of major music festivals this year, Jang Il-eun. She sang a passionate song with a microphone in her hand and slowly walked to the middle of the red carpet. In her singing, the artists who were supported by pleasure came one after another. Handsome men and beautiful women, a feast of face value. The ordinary staff under the stage were separated by the artist teams and couldn't help screaming from afar. According to the script, the penultimate appearance was Ling Han. As the big boss of the company, he attended with Shang Anren. Shang Anren, wearing a burgundy dress, walked slowly on the red carpet with Ling Han's arm in her arm. The big waves of maroon spread behind her ears. The triangular metal earrings were very shiny, and the most eye-catching thing was the new winter diamond necklace on her neck, shining under the light. Jang Il-eun's passionate singing suddenly turned into a melodious tone. The accompaniment suddenly became gentle and delicate, and the lyrical song was pinched easily. When I walk on this red carpet, I hope this is a road without end. In the long-awaited days, I have walked through the wind and rain with you side by side. This is Jang Il-eun's famous song, the necessary lyrical song for weddings. At this moment, it is integrated with the red carpet. The golden boy and the jade girl on the stage seemed to be a wedding scene. In the envious eyes of the crowd, Shang Anren raised her chin slightly and showed a satisfied smile. Ling Han frowned slightly and took a look at Jang Il-eun. His cold eyes made Jang Il-eun slightly stunned. The high-pitched part suddenly broke, causing a burst of low laughter. Fortunately, the red carpet was not long, and Shang Anren had already walked to the end with Ling Han's arm. Even so, she glanced at Jang Il-eun unpleasantly. This flaw in the perfect red carpet made her feel very uncomfortable. Next, we solemnly introduce this year's new star of the pleasure family, Sun Yanhua, and her female companion, Guan Er. Under the stage, a slim figure holding a glass of wine, leisurely tasting, made the host's voice suddenly stop. He looked down in surprise and reconfirmed the red carpet list. It was clearly written Guan Nai. At this time, in the uninterrupted elegant piano sound, a man and a woman walked on the brightly lit red carpet from the dark. Chapter 148. Sun Yanhua was dressed in a white suit with black and dark gold patterns on the cuffs and collar. He wore a blue bow tie around his neck. He looked gentle and elegant as he carefully tidied up the skirt of the woman beside him. As for the woman beside him, the audience looked at her for a while before someone recognized her in disbelief. It's Secretary Yi. Yi Huanyan was dressed in a black strapless dress. Her long hair was coiled up, revealing her neck. There was a simple black lace tie around her neck, which made her neck look more slender. She was as elegant as a swan. The dress was a strapless style with a short front and a long back. The front only reached her knees. There was a row of white gardenias on the diagonal side that were handmade and embedded. Under the light, the skirt trailing behind her was like a little star in the night sky, shining brightly. Every step of her slender calves was elegant and calm, as if she was born to be a noble. She stunned the audience and unexpectedly matched the elegant man beside her. There was a faint smile on her face. She seemed to be a little shy, and her cheeks were red. The host was obviously stunned for a while before he reacted. After sincerely praising Yi Huanyan's outfit today, he hurriedly cut to the theme of the annual meeting. Because it was both the annual meeting and Sun Yanhua's welcome party, a 3-layer cake was prepared for Sun Yanhua to cut. In the past, Ling Han was the one to open the wine. The champagne tower glowed with crystal clear light. The two men shook hands on the stage, but no one noticed the cold light in their eyes. Before cutting the cake, Sun Yanhua grabbed Yi Huanyan, who was about to leave quietly, and dragged her to hold a knife with him to cut the top layer of the cake. Ling Han, who was beside him, also held Sheng Anren's hand and filled the champagne tower. Bang! After a few sounds, colorful confetti and ribbons flew on the stage. As the elegant waltz melody sounded, the opening dance began with Ling Han and Sheng Anren. In the center of the banquet hall, Sheng Anren's skirt fluttered slightly, but Ling Han was absent-minded. After a dance, everyone joined the dance floor. Yi Huanyan was naturally paired with Sun Yanhua. During this time, many men's gazes were locked onto Yi Huanyan. After she finished dancing with Sun Yanhua, a steady stream of men came to invite her. Yi Huanyan looked up at Sun Yanhua. The two of them smiled at each other. Sun Yanhua passed Yi Huanyan's hand to another man. He was a public figure, and there were reporters at the scene. If he was always alone with her, it would be very troublesome to spread rumors. Therefore, Yi Huanyan had no choice but to be fair. Ling Han was in the corner of the dining area, holding a glass of wine and socializing with clients. Sheng Anren, as the recognized Mrs. Ling, was standing aside with dignity and elegance. From time to time, she joked with those clients to enliven the atmosphere. This was her value, and also why Ling Han liked her. In boredom, she saw Sun Yanhua sitting on the sofa next to the dance floor, drinking alone, but her eyes were still fixed on the center of the dance floor. The woman in the center of the dance floor who stole her limelight made Sheng Anren unhappy, especially when she found that the men around her who used to pursue her were all staring at her like wolves and tigers. Suddenly, she felt a sense of unwillingness. She looked at Sun Yanhua, and something suddenly flashed in her mind. Sun Yanhua in front of her seemed to be more than just friends with Yi Huanyan. "Would you like to dance with me?" Sun Yanhua looked up and saw Sheng Anren's delicate face. There was a signature smile of the entertainment circle on her face, and it was hard to tell whether it was real or fake. He responded with a slight smile and said politely, "Thank you. It's my pleasure." Entering the dance floor, Sheng Anren's waist swayed gently, and the greetings and pleasantries were omitted. Sheng Anren put her white fingers on Sun Yanhua's shoulder, raised her chin slightly, and asked straightforwardly, "Are you familiar with Secretary Yi? Is Miss Sheng very interested?" Women are naturally interested in gossip. Then is Miss Sheng interested in me or Yi Huanyan? Sun Yanhua was not in a hurry, and he checkmated her. There was a trace of coldness on her delicate face. You know the answer. Sheng Anren's deaf love for Ling Han was well known. For this reason, she even kept a distance from all the male artists in the circle. She didn't even have the hype of the film and TV series promotion period. How could she be interested in him? Sun Yanhua's eyes flashed with a hint of meaning. In that case, I'm also very curious. Why is Miss Sheng interested in Yi Huanyan? Hearing this, Sheng Anren's angry eyes flashed with a hint of thought-provoking expression. If you were me, you would also be interested in all the beautiful women around your man. Sun Yanhua was slightly stunned. Ling Han and Yi Huanyan? You think too much, he said lightly. Is that so? Sheng Anren's mouth curled into a mocking smile. Do you need me to prove it to you? The burgundy figure left calmly. When he left, there was a smile at the corner of his mouth, which made people feel suspicious. Sun Yanhua looked down at the suit pocket on his chest, revealing a corner of the room card. After 3 rounds of drinking, the subordinates toasted their colleagues, bosses, and customers in turn. Most of them looked slightly tipsy. Yi Huanyan walked towards Ling Han with a wine cup in her hand. There was still a little less than half of the wine left in the cup. She had drunk so much that she was slightly delirious, but her courage had grown a little. She finally dared to toast to him, to his care in the past 10 years. President Ling, I toast to you. He staggered to stand still. His gorgeous dress made people unable to look away. Ling Han frowned. The fever hasn't. Before he finished speaking, he remembered that there were still people around. So he changed his tone, and his eyes were cold. Secretary Yi, you drank too much. Rui Shui was talking about the movie with Sheng Anren. She suddenly caught a glimpse of Ling Han and Yi Huanyan and quickly reminded them. Sister Anren, look, Secretary Yi went to President Ling. Sheng Anren suddenly raised his head and looked at the two people in the distance. The way he staggered with a glass of wine was really lovable. Her eyes deepened a little, and her eyes fell on a row of colorful cocktails on the table beside her. Secretary, Yi looks drunk. It's better to drink less. Sheng Anren's hand took Ling Han's arm and stared at Yi Huanyan like a tiger watching its prey. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned and swallowed what he was about to say. I'm just toasting to my boss. What does it have to do with you? Yi Huanyan frowned. She was already speaking incoherently. Sheng Anren frowned, looked at Ling Han helplessly, and put the wine glass in his hand in Yi Huanyan's hand. Change to this one. I just took it from the bar and haven't drunk it yet. The cocktail has low alcohol content, so you won't make a fool of yourself if you drink too much. When she said this, she looked up at Ling Han. Ling Han didn't say anything, which was a tacit agreement. Yi Huanyan was so drunk that she couldn't tell what kind of wine it was. She just picked up her wine cup and clinked it with Ling Han's. She tried her best to tiptoe and get closer to his ear. The strong smell of alcohol quickly spread between the two of them. Ling Han frowned slightly and subconsciously looked at the eyes of the people around him from the corner of his eyes. A warm wind whistled in his ear, and the sweet voice was tinged with a trace of hoarseness. Ling Han, I toast you. I toast you for taking care of me in the past 10 years. That you're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.